All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Left Stream Art Stream, the most controversial live stream of all time. As it turns out, I did not
Oh,
intend for it to be one, but it is. What are you gonna do? And today we have a great guest for you. We have Ernst von Zil, aka Conscious Caracal. I probably screwed that up royally, so please let me know how it's said properly.
Oh, Lev, it's Ernst van Sale, but you can just call me Caracal or Ernst. And yeah, I'm sitting here in South Africa, a country that's in the news this week for all the wrong reasons, but I think we're going to get into that.
Absolutely, we shall. And why did you decide to associate yourself with a caracal as opposed to a serval or any other African uh, cat creature?
Because one of my nicknames is Rooikat, and because I've red in my beard. So in Afrikaans, a caracal is a Rooikat, which translates directly to a red cat. So
Uh,
and what I've told people is when they ask me how did you choose your username, I always tell them if I knew I was going to gain a substantial following on Twitter or on YouTube, I would have chosen an easier username to spell.
well, I do like the conscious caracal because we are going to have conscious Moss, who also calls herself Nala, as in Nala from The Lion King. So that's a very big coincidence, and she's going to be coming in a little bit later. And before we get to the origin story, as far as where you find yourself politically, where you find yourself right now on in terms of the spheres of Twitter, I wanted to check up on Geo real quick. Geo, what kind of painting are you making for us today, brother?
I'm gonna do another one of my studies of part of the Men's World Series that hopefully Volume 4 I'll be able to get done. So I have a very interesting picture of a midsection that I'm going to probably butcher. So I don't know. I'm trying to get the fucking camera angle just right. I mean, I might have to pause for a minute, but yeah, I'm basically just I have to clean my I have to like scrape off the excess paint from my palette, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll. So
Excellent, excellent. And we have, speaking of Conscious Moss, we have Conscious Moss joining us as well. So we have two people now. We have two people with the word conscious in
No,
their title.
you should just call this episode the stream of consciousness.
Ah,
oh,
Hello?
should
excellent.
I just go
Hello?
landscape left?
Hello,
Like, should I
Conscious
just go with
Moss.
that?
Hi.
Sure, I think that's good. So Conscious Moss, we have another Conscious here. We have Conscious Caracal. Conscious Caracal, meet Conscious Moss.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Ah, nice to meet you.
So why do you call yourself conscious? I mean, we found out the Caracal part because of the
Mm.
red, and you notice I also have a red beard as well. But what about the conscious
I
part?
also have a red tinted hair, which is kind of weird for Southern Italians, but you know.
Yeah, the conscious part was just like I said. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just wanted to create a. Back in the day when I made one video on YouTube and I wanted to promote it with this profile, so I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just think of a username on the spot. So I like alliteration. It seems to be a little bit of a cultural remnant from that time when everyone was creating like a political commentary channel. You'd get a lot of alliteration. So I thought, like, okay, something that matches Caracal with a C. So I chose Conscious because it is a little bit of a parody of woke.
Interesting. And Moss, is it the same thing for you? I mean, Moss does not have an alliteration with conscious, so why go for conscious?
I think that why I made it that way is because um my mental state all the time is pretty low. And I feel extremely disconnected. A lot of the time, I struggle a lot with like dissociation and things like that. And I kind of always just, moss has no roots. It just is. And I never really felt like I had any roots either, due to stuff in my life and things that I had gone through. So I always kind of related to that part of nature and I was conscious. So,
Interesting.
um,
And it kind of lines up with, I think, what we're going to be talking about as far as rootedness, as far as the people,
Oh,
the
you stole my point, Lev.
the Afrikaners who are, living in South Africa right now, as far as how long does that go back? And are you, by the way, a Boer as well?
Yes, I'm a Boer and Afrikaner. My history of my family actually goes very far back if you really want to get into the law. So my first ancestor arrived here in the Cape in 1688. I'm ninth generation Van Zyl. Oh no, ninth generation of my family in South Africa. My earliest ancestor arrived here before America was even a country.
Wow. And
So your
what was
family
this-
even fought in the Boer War against the British then?
Not my family directly, but yeah, if you go back through my family tree, you'll definitely find someone that did fight in that war. Yes.
Oh wow.
And was it mostly for farming? What was the primary reason for the move to South Africa for, let's say, your family and a lot of Boers who made that journey?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons. So one of the main influences in my family is definitely the French Huguenots, and they have a fascinating story. If you're ever bored and you want to read a fascinating gem from South Africa's history, go read the history of the French Huguenots. So they're pretty much Protestants that have been religiously persecuted in their own country during the 1600s with the Edict of Nantes, and they flee to South Africa as refugees to be able to, as religious refugees. And a lot of them also have an influence in my family. My name is in the record of descendants from the French Huguenots. So my family and my genetics are directly linked to also French Huguenots coming here. And so you have that piece of law when it comes to why people come to South Africa. A very large portion of Afrikaners have French ancestors, but specifically the French Huguenots. So you'll get surnames like de Boer, Labuschagne, de Villiers, all these French surnames, but nobody speaks French because those French Huguenots that immigrated or fled here to South Africa, they completely assimilated into the Dutch community because they were given an ultimatum, because the Dutch living here at that time said, well, you're welcome to stay here because you share our religion, but you have to assimilate into our community, learn our language, go to and pretty much fit into our communities. And the French said, yeah, absolutely, as long as we can practice our religion. And that was during the 1600s, late 1600s. And this is, I mean, if you take into account the fact that my ancestor arrived here in 1688, the trade post in the Cape, when the first little trade post was built here, is 1652. So that's only about 30 years prior. So my family's been here a very long time. I'm more African than European at this point, and it's a very interesting history. Then you also have, I mean, I'm pretty much a mongrel when it comes to my genetic heritage. I'm a mixture of French, German, Dutch, Scottish, Flemish, and that's pretty much the type of mixture you'll get in South Africa, is that Western European mixture. And the interesting thing is, the Afrikaner culture specifically doesn't really identify with any of those countries anymore. We created our own identity here at the southern tip of Africa. We even named ourselves after the continent. I mean, Africa is in our name in Afrikaner. So that's why a lot of people don't get it. They say, well, why don't you just move to America and join and come live amongst your people? That's what someone told me once.
Well, I think these would be the same people who would look at Africa as just being like this one cohesive country, like they have this very fairy tale like thought of that, or let's say the Native American tribes in America, like this very naive, I don't know what the right word
Noble
is.
savage.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say ignorant. It's a complete ignorance. You don't know. If they don't know, they don't know.
And South Africa is an excellent example of exactly that. So if you look at South Africa through a racial lens, it's not going to make sense. It's going to be absolutely just chaos, and you're not going to be able to connect any dots. Once you start looking at it through a cultural lens, things start making sense, because you're going to see for example, white South Africans aren't a monolith. You've got English-speaking or Anglo-South Africans, which are descendants from Irish, English, and Scottish descent. And then you've got the Afrikaners, who are mainly from more Western European nations like the Germans, the French, and the Dutch. And these two groups can't be farther from each other culturally if you look at, for example, their worldview and their values. On the one side, you've got the Anglo-South Africans that are like shockingly more liberal and individualist, while on the Afrikaner side, you've got a lot more based and family orientated and community.
Oh, imagine my shock. The Anglos are more liberal. I mean,
but also, that also applies for Black South Africans. I mean, if you just look at South Africa through a racial lens, you'll see, oh, there's white people, Indian people, and Black people, and that's going to be your frame of reference. But then if you really zoom in, you're going to see there's the Zulus, there's the Vendas, there's the Khoisans, there's the Chongas, there are the Sothos, there are the Southern Sothos, there are the Pedi. South Africa has 11 official languages. And then you start really getting into the nitty-gritty when you realize, but wait a minute, here, if you're looking through a racial lens, you're going to be very confused, because you're going to see one white group that doesn't really get along with another white group. You're going to see one black group that doesn't get along with another black tribe. You're going to see one white group that gets along better with another black group. And it's all because of the history. If you know, and I mean, it's no easy task getting to the bottom of South African history and wading through that immense story. But it's going to make a lot more sense, and you're going to see that it's culture that binds all the groups in South Africa, and not so much race.
And what about this group called I'm probably going to butcher it, called the Khoisans? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Do you know who I'm talking about? I believe the
Khoisan. The
Khoisan, thank you. Yes. So
yeah.
How many of them? How many of them are there? Were there more of them before? And what was the reason why there aren't as many there as there may have been before? I'm a little bit, again, blurry on what exactly went on there. But from what I understand, they're like a whole, like even genetically speaking, like a whole different kind of people. Even though, again, people like the
they're not genetically related to the Bantu tribes, which are now the Zulu and the Xhosa and the Chonga and everyone that immigrated from the north. They were pretty much the original inhabitants of South Africa, a nomadic tribe, pretty much Stone Age in regards to technology. They don't have cities or towns. They move around. They stay in caves, and they're pretty much hunter-gatherers, but they have a very intricate and complex language. And they know the South African terrain better than anyone else. There's a reason why in every war that's ever been fought in South Africa, the Khoisan were always employed as trackers and as navigators and spies, because they know exactly how to blend in. They know how to move silently. They know how to move without leaving any tracks. But unfortunately, what happened is, so they were spread out all across South Africa. I can't remember exactly how many they were at the time, but so now the Dutch build their little trade post down in the Western Cape, manned by about 150 men. And the problem is now you're dealing with a nomadic tribe that doesn't really have any conception of property. So they see your cows or your sheep or your livestock walking there. Yeah, that's fair game. We can take it. And now they're being driven higher north by the people settling there. And
by the way, I noticed your mic is a little bit further away. Could you put it a little bit closer, just so the volume is a little bit higher?
Sure. Is that
Excellent.
better?
Yes, it is.
All right. So what happens now is they start being driven northwards from the direction of the Cape, which is down in the south. And as they move northwards, you have this Bantu expansion coming from the top, and they get sandwiched in the middle. And don't believe any of the historical revisionists or these people that have these noble savage ideas of South Africa. No, the black tribes that were moving down towards the south also massacred these people and pretty much tried to wipe them out to a large extent, because they were also encountering the same problem where they also have livestock, and these hunter-gatherers are just picking off these livestock because they don't really know what's the problem here. So what happens is, unfortunately, the Khoisan are driven into the Kalahari Desert, which is the most inhospitable part of South Africa, objectively and mathematically proven. So they go live there because nobody else can follow them there, because they're the only ones that can survive there. And that's the only place in South Africa where you'll really find still traditional Khoisan communities where they speak their language and still live like they did. Unfortunately, In the other provinces, you're not really going to find them. In the Western Cape, you'll find their descendants in the colored community. So maybe just some context there. In South Africa, colored isn't a slur. It's a term that's used for those that are of mixed race descent, of Malaysian Malay descent, and also of Khoisan descent. So the other term for them would be brown people, to translate it very
well.
directly.
I thought they would get with the times and call them people of color, as is the proper
Well,
fashion
America
today.
will import that soon enough. Don't worry.
Yeah, the first time I saw the letters POC, I had to go look it up. I was like, POC, what the hell is this?
Me too.
It was on a job application. POCs and women's.
But people don't know the history, like the racial history of South Africa, because in the 80s, with the anti-apartheid, which was largely again driven by woke capital of its day, that they equated all the white people in South Africa as like being one and the same, and they're like this like American like oppressive racial politics. But I mean, when you look at the horrendous persecution that the Anglos did against the Afrikaners, against the Boers, you know where concentration camps come from?
I was just about to say, yes.
Yeah, from the British, right? So,
yeah, no, that's a part of history that you're not going to get in a British textbook, is the fact that they introduced concentration camps in the Boer War. So the Boer War is a fascinating war. Again, I can't recommend enough. If you're ever bored and you like history, just dig into any story in South African history. You won't be disappointed. So the Boer War, the second Boer War, actually the first Boer War, the Boers won. Second Boer War, the British, there's no more games, and they send the entire empire. And pretty much they told their troops, we're going to be out of South Africa in 3 months. And the war ended up lasting more than 3 years, because the Boers resorted to guerrilla warfare, and they know the terrain very well. And another thing that happened in that war was trench warfare was invented, because the people had to start digging trenches to against the British to create like strategic points. Concentration camps also popularized there. And another thing that's interesting, influence that war had, was the fact that the British, when they first arrived there, they were wearing their traditional red coats, that very classic British red coats. And the Boers just
dumbasses,
like they were red grasshoppers, because they're walking around in a terrain that's just different shades of brown. And you have these red targets walking around, and they just got picked off left and right. So they switched to khaki in that war specifically. But now after 3 years, the empire has thrown so much resources and men and power and effort and time into this war. It's becoming a loss for them, and it's driving the British Empire literally to the brink of bankruptcy. So what they do is they're like, okay, we're going to enact under Lord Kitchener, we're going to enact a scorched earth policy, as they called it, where you burn down because all the farms there that were manned by women and children were supplying the Boers with resources, and then the Boers would flee into the mountainous terrain again. So then the British just start destroying these farms, burning them down, and now you've got a massive crisis, because you've got all these women and children that have nowhere to go. So they set up these concentration camps to keep them in, but with absolutely horrific conditions. And I mean, you can see pictures of like just human skeletons, walking, living human skeletons in those camps. And a statistic that'll shock you is the fact that more women and children died in those camps than soldiers on both sides combined. Wow. It's one of the horrible war crimes the British Empire ever committed. And then you have to ask, and again, this is the type of thing I was talking about. Why is there animosity between two white tribes? This doesn't make sense looking through a racial lens. But then you look into the history and you're like, oh shit, wait a minute, this starts making a little bit sense. Because what happened is, but this is a whole different other kettle of fish. I'm not going to get into this, because then we're going to be here all night. There's another aspect is, after the war, our current government during the First World War forces the South Africa, or opts to send South African troops to go fight on the side of the British. So you know that doesn't go down well. With a lot of Boers and Afrikaners now going to have to fight for a country that did that to them just a few years ago. So yeah, the history of South Africa is absolutely fascinating. You really need to dig into that. There's one more story before I hog too much of your time that I want to get to.
No, please, you're the guest of honor, so hog as much as you want.
Thanks, man. It's the story of Japie Greiling. So he was a 10-year-old Afrikaner boy during the Anglo-Boer War, and during the scorched earth policy. So the Boer, the British troops arrive on his farm, and the British colonel singles him out and asks him, "Where's your dad?" Because he knows his father is a soldier for the Boers. He says, "I'm not going to tell you." The British colonel says, "Okay, fine." Orders his troops to go line him up against the wall. Starts pointing firearms at him, firing squad. Says, "Where's your dad?" And he says, "I'm not going to tell you." He says, "I'm going to give you one more chance. Where's your father?" And he says, "Nothing you can say or do will make me tell you where he is." And then the British colonel tells his troops to stand down, and he tells them, "I can't shoot a man of this integrity, or a small man of this integrity." And then after the war, this colonel was so impressed by little Japie Greiling's courage that he writes a book about him. And he finds Japie after the war, and he tells him, "I wrote this book that features you. Do you want a signed copy?" And he says, "No, I don't want your bloody book."
Wow.
You put me in front of a firing squad.
But I didn't know that about the Huguenot connection in South Africa.
Well, Gio, as a Catholic, how does that make you feel?
We kind of kicked their ass right there, but no. Well, that was during the Wars of Religion in France. That lasted, what was it? Was that the 100 Years' War? It was like somewhere around there. Like, I mean, us Catholics and Protestants, we've been going at it for quite a long time. But but it's funny, like about South Africa, the history of it, because like you said, there's, I think like even like in reactionary circles in America, we have terms like Amerikaner, like the Kwa thing. But really, South Africa was sort of this mixed European heritage that almost like, I mean, I know is like terrible as this sounds, given how people react to South Africa, it really was like the first multicultural state, believe it or not. I mean, as like to normies that don't know, it's like that sounds terrible, right? But it is.
Well, now we have, let's see, I think it was a video I saw by Sticks Hexenhammer 666, who was a guest on BTR, and we hope to have him back real soon as well. But he was talking about how the primary reason for what's happening right now and just the levels of carnage that are occurring, he points to communism being the reason, and he points to the socialist government that's in charge right now of South Africa as being the primary reason. So I'm curious, Conscious Caracal, what your take on that is, but also I want to do a quick shout out to all the people who are currently here on the call. We got Mass Bastard, we got Will over here. Welcome, Will. I hope you're enjoying the magnet.
Yeah, hey everyone. Yeah, this is Dickbill Cyborg on Twitter. Just friend of some of these guys. It's good to be here.
And Dickpilled Cyborg, by the way, he has a beautiful magnet of Definitely Legit. He is the second person who has a Definitely Legit magnet. And we met him.
Those magnets are incredible.
Yes, thank you, they are. And we met him at the National Arts Club, me and Porco, who should be joining us as well, Alexandra. And we had a great time. We went to dinner afterwards to this Mexican place. Anyway, Will's just a really, really cool guy, so I really appreciate him coming down here today. And, of course, we have Conscious Moss. And that's it for now. So we're going to have more people. And lastly, these things that I'm drawing over here that you could see, I know they kind of look like deep sea Pokemon. They are going to be a very small detail. Say I can't even find where I have to put them. They have to be, right over here. So you see how much of a small detail it is. It's just going to be right over here in this very small area of what is this large thing that I've been working on for months. And I know I've been working on it a long time, but that's primarily because I don't have time to do a lot of things. Right now I'm rendering shorts, I'm preparing new BTR streams, you get the idea. But anyway, let's go back to Conscious Caracal. Let us know, is Sticks right when it comes to the regime being this communist regime, being the main reason why a lot of these horrible things are happening right now?
Well, the thing is, let me just check here. Before I continue, I just want to get one image that I actually want to send you. You maybe can put on screen to answer your question without even answering it.
As long as it's not going to take us off of YouTube, then yes.
No, let me just see. I'll put it in the private chat. If you can't put it on screen, it's not a big deal. So,
or you can send it to me on Twitter. You could send it to me on Twitter, and I'll be able to take a look at it.
I'll send it to you on Twitter, and then I'll start answering the question, because this image pretty much answers your question.
All right.
But yeah, while I'm sending it to you, yeah, I think Styx's analysis of South Africa is pretty sober in regards to from a South African perspective. I think he gets to the point of what's going on. So if you look at South Africa, the mainstream explanation is that. So maybe before I get into that, just some valuable context. So our previous president, Jacob Zuma, has been imprisoned last week on contempt of court charges. He still has 780 other charges that he needs to.
Wait. Before that, you have to copy and paste the image in, because I think you pasted a link which didn't go anywhere. That's the only thing.
Okay.
So
Cool,
just
cool,
paste the image into the Twitter thing, and I'll be able to see it there.
Cool.
Because
I
know that YouTube videos have actually been taken down for displaying some of the content of the things that have been going on, which is why I want to play it safe if possible.
It's not a funny image, but anyway. So that's the context of what sparked a lot of these riots were supporters of the previous president pretty much doing this, starting a lot of these riots. But then it just got out of control. And the thing is, what the mainstream explanation that you're getting from a lot of foreign outlets is the fact that this is just the support. All these riots and all this looting is just being done by the supporters of the previous president. This is like an insurrection or a coup. But at the same time, if you really look at the bigger picture, it's just the inevitable result of ANC socialist kleptocrats being in charge. So to use a metaphor, what it's pretty much is you've got an Olympic swimming pool filled with gasoline, and the Zuma supporters started rioting, and that's just a match that you're throwing into the Olympic swimming pool full of petrol. So the situation in South Africa is, from what I can see, just the result of ANC mismanagement, where so that image that I sent you is the president of South Africa at the South African Communist Party's conference. So just so if your audience is still a bit uncertain where our president's sympathies lie.
Yeah. Well, as somebody who was born in Russia while it was still the USSR in 1988, these symbols definitely resonate with what's going on here. I could definitely understand the situation people must be in when it comes to this.
But do you think, Conscious, that like, having seen a little bit of how Marxism was manifested in Africa, for example, that one leader of Zaire, what was his name? The one that all the Western commies
Was it Amanda Hug and Kiss?
Yeah, they all praised him, but he was also corrupt in the 70s and the sort of post
Sankara,
yeah. Every commie, everyone with pronouns and a hammer and sickle on the bio, they love him. But he was corrupt as hell. But is it true that with Jacob Zuma, with the ANC, that really Marxism, in some like strange third world display, this is what some like, what would you call them, quote unquote imperialist thinkers, they say that really was just a foil for like their own tribal politics. And like, for example, Jacob Zuma was like enriching his own like affiliates on the backs of the public, and that Marxism was really just like a convenient cover for this like typical, like, I hate to be our word, but typical like African tribal loyalties, that really like Marxism is just like, it's not exactly reading Das Kapital, but it's more of just like the third world excuse for gangsterism, I guess you could say.
Well, if you look at South Africa specifically, what you're seeing here, there's a lot of complexity to it. So you've definitely got the cadres that are just enriching themselves, that are pretty much just using Marxism as a foil. But then at the same time, I have to say, they are genuinely like ideologues, people that believe this shit, the worshippers of the National Democratic Revolution. So just for context, the National Democratic Revolution is pretty much the ideological Bible of the ANC. They got it from the Soviets. And to put it very simply, what it is pretty much the theory or the strategy of, first you gain power through under the guise of classical liberal values and democracy. Once you've gained power, the next phase is you start enacting more and more socialist policies, and then you also start normalizing it. People start getting used to it, like that metaphor of the boiling frog. And then you get to the point where your socialist policies have gotten to a point like a fever pitch. Everyone has normalized it. And then you enact pretty much full-blown communism. And it's not to the benefit, the financial benefit of a lot of these leaders. They genuinely believe in it. Now, exactly who believes in it and who's using it as a foil or as an excuse to loot, that's one of the big conundrums in South Africa. So yes, there are people that just use it as an ideological facade to enrich themselves and their supporters. But I can guarantee you, there are a lot of people within the ruling ANC that genuinely believe this shit, that sleep with a communist manifesto under their bed that they read like a Bible.
Well, it could
Oh,
be
wow.
both as well. Like, I wouldn't think it out of the ordinary for somebody to be a true professed Marxist and actually believe in that shit, while at the same time squandering a lot of money, making up excuses in their head as to why this is legitimate.
Mm, mm.
Like,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of people like that in the USSR, you know, so,
Yeah,
and
there's if you want to look at the riots currently in South Africa, I mean, there's the angle that I just told you about. This was pretty much the ticking time bomb of South Africa that a lot of the more based analysts have been warning about for years in regards to. I mean, you're sitting with a country of 70% youth unemployment, almost 35% average unemployment or total unemployment. You have a country where the current Minister of Health has been put on special leave because of corruption, very serious corruption allegations. This is the reality in South Africa. And if you look at these realities and you start thinking, well, then it was only a matter of time before the whole country exploded into riots and unrest. And this is pretty much what we're seeing here. I don't buy the coup or the insurrection narrative. I don't buy the narrative that this is all orchestrated by Jacob Zuma and his supporters. They might have been the catalyst, but it's no longer that in any significant sense. The other thing is, and I mean, this is only speculation, I can't confirm this, but there is a way that the current regime gains from this as well, or benefits. So what you saw during the riots so far is a lot of communities arming themselves and barricading their communities and defending themselves legally, and doing that to defend their property and their lives. And what's going to happen, I think, in the aftermath of this? So what's happening currently in South Africa is the government is trying to push through a Firearms Control Act where they are going to ban the purchasing of a gun or getting a firearms license for the reason of self-defense. So you're not going to be able to use self-defense anymore to get a gun as a reason. And this is currently in the works. The civil rights organization that I work for, AfriForum, is currently fighting this legislation. And I can see them after this crisis of riots and looting, pointing to those communities that defended themselves with their legal firearms and saying, well, this is very dangerous. This can't be. You can't be walking around with shotguns or semi-automatics defending yourselves. This is why we need this firearm legislation. Another thing, how they can benefit, is if you look at this unrest and all this chaos, the government can look afterwards and say, well, this is the product of decades of inequality. This is the product of apartheid. This is the product of South Africans not being trapped in poverty. This is why, excuse me, why we need expropriation without compensation, or why we need national health insurance, or why we need to nationalize every sector of the economy to put these historical wrongs right. The final benefit that they can get from this, or how they can spin it, is pretty much in the province that has been mostly affected, which is KwaZulu-Natal, where Durban is located. KwaZulu-Natal is also the Zulu epicenter of the country. It's their province. There's literally Zulu in the name of the province. So the Zulu nation has always been a very difficult nut to crack for the ANC. It's always been a very difficult tribe to get on their side because it's a very proud nation. It's a warrior nation, and it's a nation that has very strong self-governance instincts in regards to we want to do things how we want. And Jacob Zuma, the former president, was a Zulu man, and he actually brought a lot of Zulus into the ANC, and he was rewarded with his position of power specifically because he got in the 90s and in the late 80s, he pretty much broke the Inkatha Freedom Party, which was the Zulu Nationalist Party in KwaZulu-Natal, and got the Zulu support there. But unfortunately for the ANC, in the recent years, Zulu support has been dwindling in KwaZulu-Natal. There's been a lot of rumblings of more autonomy. There's been a lot of rumblings of Zulus wanting to go their own way. And this is another way that they can pretty much spin this situation, is having all this unrest in the Zulu epicenter in KwaZulu-Natal, and then afterwards coming in with their guns blazing with the army, as they have already done with a very large show of force, and say, well, you guys clearly can't have any. You guys clearly can't keep the peace here. The South African Empire is here to help, and they come in on the white horse, and they pretty much say the only way that you guys can have peace is if Big Brother is here to look after you, and that'll be a big win optic-wise for them.
By the way, here's the new acronym. Instead of MGTOW, it's ZigTOW. That'll be Zulus going their own way.
As soon as I said it, I knew you were going to point it out.
But how do the Zulus factor in the general South African mix-up? Because I remember reading, I know it's like a total meme, but I remember reading these 4chan threads from Afrikaners about when apartheid was ended and how a lot of African tribes from the Congo and elsewhere, how they weren't even like really genuinely South African in terms of the black population. But like, how do the Zulus, they've always maintained their own autonomy. I know the British tried to wipe them out that one time, but like,
that movie with Michael Caine.
Yeah. But how do they factor in terms of the politics of South Africa? Are they sort of like a huge voting block the way that like Quebecois are here in Canada? We have to like always appease them and shit, or is it totally different? Is it just as various? Yeah.
The Zulus are the Zulus are the most powerful cultural faction in South Africa in regards to their numbers, their influence, in regards to also their control over their own province. So the Zulus are, like I said earlier, they're a warrior tribe. They're a very proud nation. They have a very, very strong sense of identity and heritage. They know their history very well. They are they're pretty much the culture that brought you Shaka Zulu. They are one of the few cultures in South Africa that really got very close to becoming an empire in the South African context. I mean, they were pretty much taking over the entire region at one point. And almost every other tribe in South Africa is shit scared of the Zulus. Like, you can talk to any other culture in South Africa and they'll tell you don't mess with the Zulus. The Zulus are the type of guys, the trope is they go out to the pubs and the bars just to look for fights because they know they'll win. They're those types of guys.
What about the Maasai warriors? If you were to have a theoretical battle between the two, all sides being equal, would the Maasai warriors be just as tough, or Zulus would still be tougher?
I don't know the Maasai warriors that well, so I won't be able to.
Love, are you trying to reenact that show? What was it called?
Stop it,
the
Gio.
Warrior, whatever it's called.
No, I am curious about like the samurai. Yes, like the samurai versus the long swordsman or whatever. Yeah. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. Like, if all sides were equal, if there was like a mock AI battle or whatever, it would be an interesting thing to observe. But I am
Are you
curious.
playing Civ right now, Lev? Is that what you're? Jesus Christ!
No joke. I actually have.
If you
build a lot of scouts.
If you look at the history of South Africa, there's only been 3 tribes in our history that have beat the British Empire. That's the Afrikaners, the Zulus, and the Sothos. So the Zulus beat the British at the Battle of Isandlwana and also at Rorke's Drift. I think Rorke's Drift was the battle in British history where the most Victoria Crosses were ever handed out. And I see here in the chat, one of my subscribers, Sideliner Opinion, says the Matabele in Zimbabwe is a splinter group of the Zulus. Yes, that's correct.
That Battle of Rorke's Drift, all of this reminds me of a movie that I watched with my dad growing up. I think it's just called Zulu, 1964, I think. It's a great movie.
It is. We just mentioned before with Michael Caine, and I also like that part from Michael Caine. From Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. You remember that scene with I think that was supposed to be a parody of Zulu, I'm not sure. And all the British officer class were all prim and proper while they were like dying, and like one guy got his leg eaten by a tiger, and they were making a big deal out of that, but very calmly. I don't know if you guys... Yeah?
Is that the one where like the guy's carrying around like a glass of tea and the chaos is all around him?
Yes,
like,
yes, exactly.
Around. Yeah.
Yes. And, like, his fellow, like, not officers, but, like, the people below the officers end up getting, speared in the back, and they're still, like, being given commands, and they're still doing them right up until the end, and then this very, very proper way. I guess that was kind of the British way, wasn't it? And I am curious, would that be also a big differentiator between the British and the Boers? Like, would you say the Boers would be more of like the equivalent of the American Southern kind of like, I'm not exactly sure the right word here, but more like down to earth people, while the British would be the much more like waspish, upscale, very properly acting kind of people. Would that be a good way to differentiate the two, or not really?
Well, Lev, to answer that question, I'm going to send you some pics of some Boer commandos that you can put on screen, and you can
all right,
decide for yourself in regards to what these are.
Yeah, the Boers, they had to resort to guerrilla warfare against the British. I guess, would you say it's the British Vietnam? Or no, I mean, the British had many Vietnams, but that was in Africa especially, but that was the equivalent, I guess, for American audiences.
Let me just get this here in the... There we go.
Who would have ever thought the British Empire was pure evil?
Although, wait, but to be fair, though, that guy who you mentioned, I mean, of course it was horrible putting a poor kid on a firing squad. But at the same time, there are people who have done much worse, and the fact that he at least spared him in the end, it's not great, but it's like, it's a level above, absolutely unforgivable, bloodthirsty tyranny. And from what I understand...
I think putting the women and children of your enemy after you've burned down their farms into concentration camps is pretty much bloodthirsty tyranny.
No argument for me there. I could agree with that. But looking at the bigger picture,
see, Lev is like a wasp boo. Like it's part of his DNA.
I'm gonna call out the horrible tragedies and bloodthirstiness whenever I see them. I am in complete agreement. But if we're going to judge like an entire culture, there are still things within. And I'm not asking people to start standing, British culture, but in comparison to other things that have come before, like if we were to like rack up the points of any kind of culture and say like where do they measure up in terms of the amount of bloodshed and violence, because I don't know, like where exactly would the British Empire line up in the grand history of all that we know, like compared to the Mongols and
pretty like it's they got to be up there. I mean, maybe not. They got to be up there. Put it that way.
Yeah. Lev, if you check your DMs, I've sent you some examples of the Boers, so you can contrast that to the British, and they'll pretty much answer your question in regards to how they approach war aesthetically.
Oh wow, they do look kind of like I'm not exactly sure what the right word here. Kind of like the early American settler vibe.
So these guys had an aesthetic going. You can't rob them of that.
Definitely. Although there is also the aesthetic of the Rhodesians with the short shorts.
Afrikaners are also famous for our short shorts. The joke here in South Africa is when it's really cold, an Afrikaner wears 2 pairs of short shorts.
Now, aren't you afraid of getting bitten by some animals, though? Like, I know, crocodiles or...
Yeah,
I just assume there's a lot of creepy crawlies, too.
One guy I know in South Africa was telling me about lions. He's like, yeah, at night, lions will just come out in the middle of the street. Like, it's just a thing. I was like, yeah, we got bears here, too. But, usually the bears, I've heard in the last 25 years, one story of a bear coming downtown. And it was taken care of very quickly. And he's just like, yeah, lions, they have their right in the place in society, too. I'm like, okay, I guess.
How was it taken care of, Charles?
DNR guys come out and shot it.
I knew it.
Yeah, it was a little too close to a school as a school was letting out. It had come up, I guess it had come down the river, and so I had heard the DNR man just rolled up, jumped out of the car in the middle of the road, unloaded on it.
I have a bunch of stories from upstate New York about black bears, because they basically moved in. Like, as humans have expanded into the Catskills, they're just kind of integrated now into like the rural life up there. Like my back neighbor, like the people behind me, the old man who lived there used to feed sugar cookies through his window to this black bear, like for years and years and years. It's kind of a sad story though, because after he passed, his son was there, got freaked out, ended up shooting it. he had to pay child support for the black bear's cubs after that.
Oh,
Like
God.
that. Yeah,
Wow.
to take care of them in captivity.
Well, at least I heard from Joe Rogan that the meat of a brown bear, if they eat a lot of blueberries, tastes like blueberries. So there's that.
wow.
I mean, I hope they used every part of the buffalo, so to speak.
So
you know,
if they fed a bear nothing but pepperoni pizza, would the bear taste like pepperoni pizza by that logic?
Well, you actually have to watch with bear meat because they have a certain parasite.
Trichinosis. I think it's called.
Trichinosis, yeah.
One of the funniest sounding parasites, though, of all time. I don't know. There's something about the word trichinosis.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to South Africa.
Are you sure you don't want more bear stories?
Or more parasite stories?
Yeah, I got an
I'm
uncle
sure,
that
I'm
killed a
sure
bear.
in South-
There's
I'm sure South
a
Africa
thing
has
here. They
plenty of
dig ginseng roots, ginseng and yellow
yeah.
root and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. My uncle was out doing that, and he said, you know, it was a pretty average day, like going out doing that. And he said he turned around and he said there was a gigantic bear. Luckily, he had his pistol.
Yeah.
Lev or Geo, if you ever want inspiration for another painting, you can paint one of those Boer commandos that I sent.
Oh
there.
yeah.
They look
All right, I got a
quite
question
incredible.
for the boys.
Look at
Let's
this.
take it back to lions. Who wins in a fight, a bear or a lion?
Bear, because lion's strength comes from their group, from the
Pride.
pride.
Well, actually, this would be a good time for me to mention the Maasai warriors again, because there was a reason why I had like a hard stop, and I thought, you know what, it would be an interesting comparison, like a Maasai warrior tribe versus Zulu tribe, because the Maasai warriors, as I heard, they drink the psychedelic brew, and then they're supposed to go on this quest of killing a whole lion just by themselves. So I don't know what exactly is going on there as far as psychedelics enabling people to have some kind of a superhuman strength or yeah, but I don't know. Like I am curious. Like, do the Zulus also
Yeah, they
in terms of
ate
your
a
knowledge
root
have any
that
psychedelic?
Yeah, they ate a root that was like an amphetamine that gave them, like they thought that the British, the Martini rifles they had would stop bullets, so they went out naked. But then what happened was they had paper and grass made bullets that would keep jamming up the rifles, so they would start firing blanks. And so the Zulus actually thought that this drug gave them. I know I'm butchering the history here, but I think that was the gist of it.
Is Geo correct in that regard?
I haven't heard that part of history. It could be, but the Zulus also went through very hard training in regards to hardening themselves up. They ran across fields of very big thorns and made their feet hard and did a lot of endurance and hardening up training to be able to resist that type of warfare. So, but it's not going to be able to stop a bullet now. So Lev, what are your thoughts of some of those pictures?
So as far as these pictures go, they definitely look very rough. Like they've experienced. They're probably much younger than I think they are. You know, I think age has a way of. I mean, look at my face, for instance. You know, it's too fucking soft. So I just imagine like he's probably 15. I don't know.
Yeah,
do you know how old that is?
Yeah, these soldiers were anywhere from 12 to 80.
Oh,
wow.
It's like Mel Brooks going to World War II when he was 14.
Well, there's obviously, I think, a lot of Photoshop, at least Photoshop for that time, going on in the faces of these two. You know, there's some airbrushing going on here.
That's because these are colorized images. I think that's just an artifact, like a result of that.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of like darkness over here, a lot of sweat, perspiration. I mean, to wear this kind of clothing, though, like, although South Africa, it's more closer to the tip, so it shouldn't be that hot. Like, what's the climate like there?
Depends on where you go. South Africa is the world in a country in regards to the terrain. You get in the Western Cape, you'll get more of like a European vibe, a lot of mountains, a lot of green, rain during the winter, not really a lot of snow. Some towns that are located on top of mountains, you'll find some snow. but not a lot of cold. You get a lot of storms, a lot of rain, and very strong winds there. Then if you go up north on the northern side of South Africa, top left, you'll find the Kalahari Desert. You'll also find a lot of desert terrain. It's pretty much dead there. Not a lot of people live there in the Northern Cape. Just about 10 sheep farmers live there. And then
or the I keep screwing up
the Khoisan, yeah.
Khoisan.
Yeah, they also live there. And then if you go to the center, it's pretty much just a bunch of cornfields in the Free State. Then if you go up north, where I'm staying in Gauteng or the Transvaal, you get Pretoria and Johannesburg. Gauteng is pretty much the economic engine of the entire country. That's where you get the two major cities of Pretoria and Johannesburg, and also all of the gold mines. And then if you go to the east, you get Durban, which is just a tropical climate. It's pretty much it's like an eastern country almost in terms of how hot and sticky it is, and you get very hot, wet summers there. And the thing about Durban is it's one of the cities in the world with the largest Indian population outside of India. And that's where a lot of these unrests happened this year. And then if you also look at in terms of rainfall, the southern half of the country gets rain during the winter, and the top half or the northern half gets rain during the summer. And it gets pretty hot all across the country. So where I grew up in a small town called Malmesbury in the South African countryside in the Western Cape, we got 45, 44 degrees Celsius some summers. Here in Gauteng, we also get pretty high temperatures, sometimes in the high 30s or low 40s if it gets really hot.
Wow, amazing. I could imagine maybe there are some people who have a house in one part and then move to another part when it gets really bad wherever they happen to stay, so they could just like come and go. But of course, there are also a lot of people who don't have, who barely have a house as it is. As far as I heard all these stories about the farmers who keep getting raided. And there was that documentary made by Lauren Southern. How much would you say that documentary was accurate as far as what's going on with the farmers there?
I watched that documentary years ago, so my memory is a bit fuzzy on how accurate it was. It wasn't a farce. It wasn't propaganda. It didn't misrepresent the situation. If I remember correctly, some of the facts weren't 100% correct. Some of the things were not completely polished in regards to research, but it was overall a good documentary. I liked it. Like I said, I'm talking under correction in regards to how I remember it years ago when I saw it. There are two very good documentaries that I would recommend anyone watching that wants to understand South Africa. The first one is called Tainted Heroes. It's all about the resistance movement under apartheid, the ANC, and what they were up to during that time. And another excellent documentary, if you want to look into the land debate in South Africa, is called Disrupted Land documentary. So if you put that in, very high production value. It came out, I think, 2 years ago, and it's all about the land debate and what's going on here in regards to all the facts, and it's very well researched.
Now, do you think that that's sort of the attention the South African farmers have gotten? Like you mentioned the Lauren Southern documentary. Do you think like the attention that the South African farmers have got by like the largely North American right wing or like European identitarians, do you think that has the language around it, that certain term, which I don't know if we could say on YouTube, the certain white G word, do you think that has helped or hindered the sort of plight of what's happening in South Africa, or do you think like that served to discredit the plight of the farmers, or do you think that they really just brought awareness to it when the mainstream media, like either they're like totally, they memory hole it, or they're like, yeah, these white people, they probably deserve it. So what's your opinion on the sort of like, white nationalist attention on South Africa?
Well, in terms of the WG term, I think it's done a lot of damage to the cause. I think it's created a lot of misconceptions among people on the outside looking in. And then they look at South Africa and they say, this isn't a G. I've been lied to. And then they stop looking at the cause and it's completely discredited in their eyes. It's also a lie that's also been, I work for AfriForum, one of the leading organizations bringing attention to farm murders in South Africa, and one of the leading organizations in regards regards to research on the stats. It's a horrific situation. It's definitely a crisis. I mean, most years the average is between 50 and 60 or between 50 and 70 farmers being murdered. Now, just to put that into perspective, just imagine if 50 journalists or 50 lawyers or 50 accountants were murdered every year in your country, and your politicians sing songs about kill the farmer, kill the journalist, kill the accountant. So it's definitely a very serious situation, and it shouldn't be downplayed. But and it's evil to downplay it. But at the same time, it's also evil to use it for your own agenda. It's not a WG. That's definitely not what it is, and you shouldn't be using that term to describe it. You're doing a lot of damage to the cause, and we as organizations that are trying to bring attention to farm murders in South Africa have to battle with that type of propaganda every day. I mean, now we're fighting a battle on two fronts. We're fighting the propaganda from the leftists and in our own country and abroad saying this is not a problem at all, and we're fighting the propaganda from the far right saying this is full-blown, all white people are being wiped out at the same time type of stuff. So you're making our lives very difficult in that regard, because you're spreading information out of a point of ignorance, and you don't know what's going on. It's the same type of people that have a very strong opinion about any type of war or battle or conflict in the Middle East. I don't have very strong opinions on it because I don't live there, and that stance of mine comes from the fact that I live in South Africa, and I've seen the amount of misconceptions and misinformation and just absolutely wrong analysis of my own country from abroad coming in, and from people that are very sure that they know what's going on, that I've had to take a step back, and I'm not as arrogant or as confident in my analysis of other countries anymore as I used to be, because I've realized that just as other countries have no idea what's going on here, and they very confidently think, looking through their own lens at South Africa, that they know exactly what's going on, maybe that's happening to me when I look at the United States or at the Middle East or at England or whatever of these countries. So I've taken a step back in that regard. I'm not as outspoken in regards to making policy suggestions for other countries or saying this is what you need to do, this is what's going on. I leave it to the people that live there. As Ian Smith of the Prime Minister of Rhodesia said, it's very easy to prescribe solutions to a country 6,000 kilometers away, and when you don't have to live with the repercussions of your suggestions.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And when it comes to the Communist Party there in South Africa, what is their official stance when it comes to things like land repatriation? Because these are the things that I keep getting murky remembrances of hearing. What exactly are their intentions for the farmers, be they white farmers, Indian farmers, Bantu farmers? What exactly do they want to specifically do with the farmland?
So if you believe the ANC at their word in regards to believe them when they say what they want to do, they want to enable the government to be able to seize land without compensation or expropriation without compensation. They want to amend the constitution to pretty much abolish property rights or private property rights. And what they want to do, from what the latest rumblings is, they want to put all the land under the custodianship of the state. So you're not going to be able to own any land anymore. You're going to have to lease it. You're going to get like a 99-year lease or whatever. And if the government don't like what you're saying, or if you don't vote for them, they're just going to cancel that lease and say, well, tough luck, buddy. You don't get to farm anymore.
And are there any racial components to those decisions as well, or no, from the ANC side?
The racialism comes in the rhetoric. So I don't think the ANC are doing it specifically to punish white people or to get back at white people. They're not that sophisticated when it comes to their approach. What they really want to do is they just want to centralize as much power as they can in the hands of the state. And they're doing it under the guise of this racial populism that they're using by pretty much saying, well, white people own 150% of all land in South Africa. This needs to change. And they use this type of racial rhetoric to justify their policies, but I don't think they are doing it specifically out of some form of we need to get back at white people. They just see it as a very convenient way of justifying it, but it has very real world consequences, seeing as a lot of these farm murders then happen after they sing the song "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer." I mean, last year there was a case where a young 21 or 22-year-old farmer was murdered in Caracal, and he was hung up on a pole by the murderers. And those murderers appeared in court in Caracal a month or so later. And the EFF the third largest party in South Africa, Marxist-Leninists, led by Julius Malema, showed up in that town, and they stood outside the courthouse while those farm murderers were being, while the court case was going on, and while the murdered farmers' parents were inside, and they sang "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer" outside the courthouse within earshot of his parents.
Oh my God. That is rough. I mean, just in time, we have Remus coming in here. So, Remus, you got here right in the...
Excuse me, Lev. I'm just going to
yes.
fill up my water. I'll be back in just a second.
That is a great idea, and I'm going to fill up my water as well.
By the way, how am I doing, by the way?
Oh, let's see. Let's do a quick look-see. No, that is beautiful. Yes, the geocam. That is beautiful stuff. Show. It looks like an Evangelion.
Yeah.
What? It's supposed to be a, well, it's an image that Bronze Age Pervert posted of a man, I don't know, getting dressed. It's one of those, like, Liz Brunegg in, Liz Brunegg go in men's locker room and left calf women, you know. It's one of those troll posts that I like when he does.
And by the way, this has been a very insightful conversation so far. Remus, I'm not sure if you were able to be here in terms of listening to it from the very beginning. But how are you, Remus? How's everything? And you got a new mic. Is that right?
I do. I may sound
I can tell.
Very
a little bit
powerful.
more dulcet, yeah.
You've been working out, I can tell.
Yeah, clearly
yes.
the voice.
Yes, exactly.
Well, no, I haven't been able to listen in. I don't know how far you guys got into the actual.
Well, let me ask.
Let
me ask the rest of the cast while I'm also getting some water. I'll be able to hear everybody though. So Conscious Moss, Mass Bastard, and Will, what do you guys think so far of what Conscious Caracal had to say about South Africa? Is this something that you knew about? Is this like completely new information for you guys?
I've been seeing some of the videos coming out about it, but I can't say I'm so informed. It definitely seems like everywhere in the former British Empire has these kinds of issues, though, with indigenous population and settlers, and they really gave a doozy to people generations hence.
And again,
here in Canada, I mean, it actually blows my mind how they like the fact that 30 plus churches have been burned or defaced, really just and there's politicians that have cheered it on, like Trudeau even saying, well, it's understandable. To me, that just I can't imagine what's like being an Afrikaner though. We're not at that level yet where the government is willing to persecute you. But who knows? I mean,
well, I am actually curious. I am actually curious when it comes to that. Are there sections of the government that are unanimously opposed to this kind of rhetoric, these kind of songs that are being sung outside the court, and those that are not opposed? And how much power would the opposing side have today?
Well, that song is actually banned in South Africa for hate speech, being hate speech. It was labeled hate speech a few years ago. But the problem is that the people that sing it don't really don't face any consequences. There's just a little bit of outrage and a few politicians saying, no, bad, sprays a little bit of water in their face. And then it just continues as normal. So unfortunately, this goes on and it doesn't face any repercussions. And according to our data, when the occasions where the song has been sung, there's been a spike in farm murders always following it.
And I wonder if it's similar, but obviously to a much more extreme extent, if we could compare it to what happens here with Antifa, where we have these Antifa people, BLM people, who go in and they riot and then they get off because of the particular, let's say, affiliations that the judges would have. So, I don't know, again, it's like a stretch to compare that to the horrible things that are going down in South Africa, but I still wonder if there is any common thread here or not. What do you guys think?
I think there's for sure a common thread. I think this is growing up, my family came from Angola, right? So it's a similar situation in terms of what kind of backlash you're seeing and how it manifests. South Africa has always had a particular situation that's a little bit more say volatile than not necessarily volatile, but like it seemed more antagonistic, at least from the outside, right? Like not you know, not living there. And I know that even in a place like Angola, which was, you know, pretty it's not known for being really bad for the people who already like it wasn't a really broken system. They weren't just brutalizing the people to the degree that you hear about in a lot of the other colonies, right? But it didn't matter. The resentment was still massive, and it's not like people are gonna give you like credit for that. You know what I mean? If things are popping off, nobody's gonna be like, oh no, not these white people. They're okay. They treated the people around here good, because a lot of the time the people who are coming and destroying everything, they don't live where you live, or like they're not from there, so they don't care anyway. It doesn't matter to them. You're just the people just become objects, or become you know, like almost like egregores. They're not real anymore. They're just a you know,
Well, even
blocks of wood, like the Japanese
yeah,
military
maruta,
called
yeah,
yeah.
they call
well,
them
even
maruta,
like
yeah.
when South Africans come over here to Canada, there's actually quite a few. It's like I remember my father was doing a job for a couple that came from South Africa who left because basically their farm was appropriated or excoriated, and they're like, you know, as soon as you, it's like we try to hide the fact we're from South Africa, because as soon as you tell people that you're from South Africa, they're like, oh my God, that must mean you're a terrible racist. You must have had black slaves like it was in America. You know, like that's what people think here.
Wow. And by the way, to give the British a little bit of credit, and I'm curious, like, what you think about this, the British were one of the first to end slavery, right?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
they were probably the only global regime to ever do that.
Yet at the same
But
time,
that doesn't matter because they should have done it in the first place.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's very interesting. Why I keep bringing this up? It's very interesting where you have this culture which, on one hand, got rid of slavery, while on the other hand, put the Boers in concentration camps. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very strange.
They did genocide certain other African tribes. To be fair, even up until the 50s, the Mau Mau, for example,
It was
Africa
that screwed Africa.
Yeah, you didn't need anybody's help, to be honest.
Yeah, there was a lot of different alliances that the British had with different tribes. But same with here in Canada.
Well, maybe something
Great Britain.
to add to this. I'm currently reading Ian Smith's biography, The Great Betrayal. So Ian Smith that I was quoting earlier, the previous Prime Minister of Rhodesia. And he mentions something there that's quite shocking. So just after the unilateral declaration of independence, where Rhodesia declared their independence, Radio Zambia, which is a neighboring country, started broadcasting into Rhodesia, telling the locals to burn down farms, murder farmers, destroy infrastructure, and just join terrorist cells. Radio Zambia wasn't owned by the Russians. They weren't owned by the Cubans. They were subsidized and owned, well, not owned, but subsidized and funded and managed by the BBC.
Oh, there you go.
Oh man.
See,
well,
I mean,
I guess the word betrayal is pretty fitting, I guess, when it comes to
Ian
that.
Smith, he had a great. I mean, I know it's like taboo to like say this, but his plan essentially was to tell the British, like, listen, give us some time. We're going to educate a ruling class of African people out of the tribes in Rhodesia, but like we can't do it right away. We can't essentially just teach these people how to govern like overnight. But then, of course, you know, the British and the Americans and the corporations, they're like, oh no, that's evil and bad and racist. So they fudged the issue, and then of course South Africa became Rhodesia became Zimbabwe, and we all know what happened there. So
but it does bring up an interesting point where one of the things that I always stress on BTR, and I know that some of our, let's say, edgier people of the Peanut Gallery always disagree with me on this, but I always stress there being an open door policy to people while at the same time making sure that people get to a certain, let's say, civilizational level as far as how they treat their neighbors, what kind of education they give their kids, how they raise their children, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm curious about here is I always take a cultural approach rather than any racial approach when it comes to a lot of these situations. But what do you think it would take to, let's say, raise the cultural level, not just of like South Africa as it is right now, but other places, to the extent that, let's say, we would have people coming in from let's say Nigeria to the United States, and they're kicking ass, as far as their level of education, how they do. What would it take to get, people who, like, I'm sure that there are people would point out great differences between, let's say, Nigerian people and some other people in Africa, but at the same time, I wouldn't say that it's that drastic of a difference if we're talking about, like, Bantu people. So since they are able to get to that, high level emigrating from there, I really don't think it's going to take that much as far as, changing the culture of a whole lot of people in Africa. But what would it exactly take? This is what I'm really curious about.
Yeah, so I'm curious to hear what your guests say, but for me, I'm becoming increasingly more of a non-interventionist when it comes to this. I don't think the Western world has a mandate to, as you say, civilize the rest of the world or level them up in terms of their civilization. I think communities need to increasingly be left to govern themselves, give them more autonomy. If they don't want skyscrapers, don't force them to build skyscrapers. If they don't want private property rights, don't force them to adopt private property rights at the barrel of a gun. That's pretty much the logic of you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. It's pretty much the liberal world telling all these other countries, specifically in the global south, you will have free speech, you will have property rights, you will have individualism, you will be a happy individualist and you'll be happy. I don't think that's moral. I don't think this liberal globalist project of turning everyone into liberal societies is a moral one. I think you're forcing values and the worldview onto people that don't want it. The liberal idea of the whole world is secretly liberal. We just need to give them an opportunity. Very quickly turns into the whole world is secretly liberal. We just need to make them. Or the whole world isn't liberal, but we just need to make them liberal, and they'll be grateful for it.
But that's but just to be clear, that would be different from saying we're going to intentionally exclude group A, B, and C from being able to participate in a particular field, right? Like that, there is a difference between that and that.
Excuse me? Just elaborate on that.
Sure, absolutely. So much like we had certain peoples who were excluded from participating in the marketplace or having a certain kind of job, if we're looking at, my own example, imperialist Russia, where even like the serfs, after they were freed, they were excluded from, getting certain promotions. So what I want to make sure of is that while I would agree with you that it may be, proper to leave people alone if they don't want to get to a certain level, if we're talking about, let's say, things like immigration, things like who gets to participate in a certain kind of civilization that's already in place to make sure that the civilization itself keeps going, at a good level, that I don't want to ever discriminate based on any external factors, racial factors, anything like that. But at the same time, there should be, let's say, a certain point where you could say, okay, you are qualified based on what you're bringing to the table to participate in this, but you are not qualified because, I don't know, like, you're not good at this job or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that would be more of a meritocratic basis.
I don't think you should say, no, we're not taking anyone from these countries because they're not on our level. Immigration is a completely different debate on its own. But for me, the big thing is, as a product of South Africa, I've seen the immense evil that comes from this no better empires. I've seen what happens when an empire comes in and says, you'll do things our way and you'll be happy. The same thing happened to the Afrikaners. And this is what spawned the Great Trek. One of the other great stories from South Africa, from the Afrikaners, is the British came in and annexed the Cape Colony, and they told the Afrikaners that were living there, you're going to speak English, you're going to adopt our values, our system, our culture. You're pretty much going to be anglicized. And then the Afrikaners said, no, fuck that. And they just packed up all their things and moved into the bush, into uncharted territory to retain their cultural identity and not become Anglos. And the thing is, the big lesson there is you need to realize these people weren't poor. They had everything to lose to leave. They had everything to gain by staying. By staying, the British are going to improve their infrastructure. They're going to get better schools. They're going to get better education. They're going to get better roads. They're going to get better water supply. They're going to get better business opportunities. They're going to get investment. They have every single reason to stay, except for the fact that they're going to lose their language and their culture. So they said, okay, we don't want that. And they just moved into the interior. They packed up their things and left. And unfortunately, when they settled somewhere in the interior, they found gold and diamonds. So then the empire followed them in Shakespearean fashion, unfortunately. So, yeah, and that spawned the Boer War, the first Boer War and the second one. So, yeah, that's just to give you some context where I'm coming from in regards to my stance. Another example would be the Inkonyama Trust in South Africa. So this is a pretty much traditional Zulu land under the control of the Zulu king. We still have monarchs in South Africa, believe it or not. And they've got their own pretty much system there and their own traditional cultural system. And I don't want to force on them, for example, if they don't want private property rights, I'm not going to force it on them by the barrel of a gun. If they say, okay, this is what we want, and can you help us implement it? Sure, great, go for it. But if they say, no, we don't want it, based on the fact that if they have private property rights there, any foreigner can buy land there, and it's pretty much just going to dissolve their entire cultural concentration that they have there, I'll grant them full right to say, no, we don't want it. I think this is a hard realization that a lot of liberals need to come to, is that hard fact that the world isn't liberal. And the only way to make it liberal is through coercion and through imperialism. If you're willing to justify that or make peace with the fact that, yeah, we're doing this imperialism for their own good, then, yeah, that's your own battle of conscience to fight. But I don't endorse it. I don't think the world, any policy should be pursued with that logic of, yeah, you're not going to like it at the moment, but I'm doing it because I love you and you'll thank me in the end. I think that's a very naive way of looking at it. That's pretty much, I'd call that empire logic. That's the logic of empires.
Just so I push back a little bit, if we have a situation, let's say in India, where people were using the Ganges River, unless, again, this is all just propaganda that was made to make the Indians look bad.
Discredit Modi, that's what they're doing.
They were polluting the Ganges by dumping in dead bodies in there.
1 million year
Yeah, or the widow burning, like examples like that. At what point?
The Ganges thing is for sure real. The Ganges thing is
that is true. That's true.
Let me answer that. Yeah, no, that's a valid point. But let me answer that question with a question. How do you enforce that? Do you invade them, annex them, turn them into a colony, and then you enforce your morality?
I'm with you here, man. I don't think you can change this shit.
I don't know. Okay, wait. Hold on. I do want to go back a little bit on one thing that I think was maybe a little bit left in a state of confusion when I was talking about the
bears.
Lions versus bears. When I was talking about the immigration situation, what I mean there is when we have places like Sweden, like any European country, where you have people who are, and Remus, we've talked about this ad nauseum already, when we have people who come from a completely different culture and go there, and there is this sense that some of the more liberal-minded politicians would have of cultural relativism, where it's like, oh, well, we can't judge, this guy just had a sexual emergency, and it's a different culture. That's the kind of stuff.
Term right there.
Yes.
That's like 2015 term right there.
For real.
But that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about when it comes to, like, you may be correct when it comes to if
Alexandra comes on, I'm gonna have a sexual emergency. Oh no!
Oh God, Gio!
Oh my God!
Gio!
I don't know if she can. I don't know if she can make it. I'll check. But anyway,
I bonk Gio through the.
You gotta learn. You gotta learn to
Gio doesn't have his shed, so he's
psychically bonk him.
Bonk, 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 bonk.
There we go.
Yeah.
Do they have shed wives in South Africa?
I don't think so.
Well, Joseph Fritzl was from Australia. I guess it crosses
right.
the empire.
What is
Australia
if not the South Africa of the world?
G'day, mate.
Lev, I completely get what you're saying. That's a valid point, but I think what's happening there is you're getting a culture that's immigrating to a liberal society and rejecting assimilation. That's you inserting yourself into another community and then saying to that community, you're just going to deal with it. But if you're moving into another community and you're saying, well, I'm not going to follow your rules, you're violating that community, and that community then can tell you, no, you live in our country, you follow our values and our morals and our moral system. It's a different story when you play global policeman and you say, well, there's a country on the other side of the world that's doing this heinous thing, then we need to go stop them. How do you stop them? Well, you go annex them and you turn them into a little colony of your own and enforce your morality. So no, definitely that's one of the questions or one of the debates that comes up, is that cultural relativism. And I'm actually working on a piece right now in response to a liberal piece that came out in South Africa just a week ago, anti-community piece that said, no, but your anti-interventionist, community-orientated stance is actually allowing a lot of evil. But I do think we need to stress the difference between enforcing your morality on a country on 6,000 kilometers away and people immigrating to your country, living off the benefits of your society and its values and its structure, but not assimilating to it. I think that's also wrong.
And it, in a way, makes people, at least according to this conspiracy theory of what people, let's say, may see happening in the United States and other places in Europe, where people end up becoming this favelized underclass that get used to being ruled over, much like, let's say, people were used to being
Brazil.
ruled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not really a conspiracy. That's just like an observation. Like that's what happened in the places where these things were done. And like again, I can say this really, really confidently because this is literally my ancestry that did this shit. Okay, the Portuguese were. Hey, go listen to Caribbean Rhythms episode 2 if you want to understand this stuff, man. Like,
yeah, they created a mulata under.
Yeah, literally, the Portuguese didn't do the way everybody else did.
Sorry, mixed race. I can't say that word.
To a degree, they would still, there were still punitive measures and punishment and things like that. But it was much more of a like, we're just gonna make them us. You know what I mean? That's the way that they thought it would go, and it didn't.
Well, that was the logic of the British Empire as well. If only the world was more English, then it would be better off, and they'd thank us for it.
Yeah, they learned.
That was literally the logic that they tried on my own people and on the Afrikaners by trying to anglicize us. They said you're going to be fighting it now like a child getting medicine, but it's going to make you better. Don't worry.
Exactly. That was basically. If I don't know if this is necessarily true, but to me it seems like everybody was following the Portuguese blueprint because they were doing it. They did it first, right? Like they went out and did the whole big, almost global colonialism in that way. They were the first ones to sort of implement that at large, right? And then everybody else was sort of like, that's a great idea. We can do that too, and did it bigger and better, right?
My angle on it would be rather, like I said earlier, that this is not something that's invented by anyone. It's just the logic of empires. Any empire follows this type of logic. And
exactly.
Yeah, the Romans.
You'll find it everywhere.
Yeah. But it's sort of the seafaring. It's the same blueprint of building. But nobody created this building, right?
Yeah. But I mean, the Romans did it as well. The Romans also turned everything Roman.
It's genius. It's actually really smart.
Do you remember
from the perspective
that
of the ruler? It makes sense to do.
But do you think it's different for the British? Because
do
British
you remember?
had...
Wait. Sorry, I just want to quickly say, do you remember that bit from Monty Python's Life of Brian? What did the British ever do for us?
Yeah.
So I just went through, and again, it's very hard for me to say because I don't like people's cultures being encroached upon. But there is something that may be happening already right now as we're getting more connected, where I don't know how much people would be able to live further apart without that much interactions, like more autonomous states that have their own culture. As much as I'm in favor of a multiplicity of different cultures around, my concern is that with the internet, with just like all this mass communication that's going on right now, with us being way more connected today than we were in centuries past, as well as whatever this may be leading to in the future with AI and God knows what else, whether we can even return to that kind of state, or whether, like for the Earth as a whole, it just has to kind of like go through this weird tunnel where right now all these things are happening. I know, like, I'm curious about what your thoughts are on the future when it comes to this, not just in terms of the Earth as it is right now, but, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit crazy here by saying this. I mean, Remus understands, and everybody here understands, but it may sound a little bit crazy to you. The idea that if we look at this planet, and then look at the solar system, galaxy clusters, all kinds of, expansive things are all around us, I don't think that we're alone here. And I lean on the fact of there being certain things that are outside of our knowledge base when it comes to what is actually going on in the planet.
In that case, sorry to interrupt. In
Go
that
for
case, if we are not alone, what are you going to do when those aliens arrive and they say, well, you guys are just a cesspool of immorality. We're going to colonize your planet and force you to burn your widows.
As a West
There you
Virginia
go.
guy, I say good fucking luck. Anybody
Yeah.
wants to come take a shot at me and my boys, buddy, good
Well,
luck.
what did Neil
Yeah.
Tyson say? He said,
You'll never
the
win a
first thing-
war against guys in the mountains. That's what I'm saying right now. These
it's
are our
true every
hills.
single time. The
Good
Swiss,
fucking
the
luck.
Swiss, the Afghanis. Well, I mean,
We've
well,
all seen Red Dawn, and we're all well prepared.
but no. What did Neil Tyson say? He's like, the first thing I would ask the aliens is if they had people that denied science on their planet or whatever the fuck. Remember he said that? That was hilarious.
Yeah, he also had a quote about.
It's like,
wanting
I
to
wonder
take
if you
comb
guys
from
have-
Garfield.
Yeah, he's a interesting guy.
But no, about oh fuck, Lev, you destroyed my train of thought. I wonder.
As
yeah,
always, go on.
So, do you think that the British, though, are unique in the sense that they've managed to perfect the sort of modern managerial state before the Americans took over? Or do you think that the British are just really serving a lineage from
Yeah,
all the
they're
way back
inheritors.
from Carthage,
Yeah,
Samaria,
they're
Greece, Rome?
inheritors. They're inheritors of like the
Hmm.
Phoenician, Carthaginian legacy. Like not even necessarily Roman, because again they were the seafarers, right? Like
Mhm.
Rome just went over the land. They didn't give a fuck. Water is gay to the Romans, right? So you just go around it. So they didn't bother, even though they did have a navy, but it wasn't as big of a deal for them, right? So if anything, it's picking up the sort of the torch of the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians. But yeah, that's a very old thing, man. Like especially you just go. It's so funny to read history and just be like, Jesus, like this shit's
But that's
literally
also
the same.
But that's also very ironic, because if you're talking about the Phoenicians, whenever I think of the Phoenicians, who else do I think of? I think of the Atlanteans, if they existed. This idea of these survivors from an ancient civilization rebuilding like the old that was destroyed, now new.
And if you even follow that track, right, it makes this whole like managerial class, upward, top-down society makes sense as a legacy of that. If you're trying to make sure that your species does not forget certain things, you don't have any time for people being like, but I don't agree. You don't give a shit if they agree or not. It's like, dude, you have to remember this or we're all gonna die forever. So you can't. I don't
But
care.
post
if
that
you-
image of the reptilians laughing. The
the reptilian.
reptilians
That's such a good.
laughing.
That's such a good.
Wait,
edit.
wait. I don't know that image. You guys are going to have to help me out and
It's an edit of the old bankers laughing in the room while all drinking.
With
Oh,
the
God.
reptilians.
Yeah, but they're
I'm
all
gonna have to find it.
reptilians.
But okay, here's the thing. I don't know about the reptilians per se, but if we're talking about that Israeli scientist of the space program there, who was talking about how there is a galactic federation and how we're not ready for it and all that, to the point that Conscious Caracal was making earlier about, well, what are we going to do if the aliens are going to come down and look at how immoral we are and...
You know my
yes.
opinion on this. You know my
Well-
opinion on this. No quarter. Just absolutely
Yes.
fucking destroy them.
Yes,
Zero.
but...
If we
but
could,
to the
that's
point-
the problem. That
No, but to the point that Israeli researcher guy was making, if he's right, and he could be full of shit, but if he's right, then what we have here is an intergalactic civilization that really doesn't want to bother. You know, like it wants to do some experiments here, but it just sees that we are not at the level where we are, you know, where we deserve to have any
but
contact.
I think that's good. I think that's good.
Yeah, but if you look at, for example, ants in your garden, you don't really intentionally bother them, but you also step on them without even thinking.
That's true. That's true.
But
no, it's like that one
I'm not
Star
gonna
Trek,
yeah,
where the they thought that people were dying, but really they were using their like almost spiritual ability, and then at the end Spock said they're kind of like in terms of evolutionary plateaus, they're like what we are to an ant, as they're we are to them what humans are to a single cell amoeba. That's what Spock said. I think that's probably
too great of a jump. I think that whoever
Spock said
I think
live
you'd be
long
fucking
and prosper.
I think they're listen. If these things are real, dude, they're on a level that is ridiculous. Like it would make us like feel fucked up to see. You know what I mean?
Do you even comprehend what level of technology you need to actually traverse the universe?
Yeah, they would fuck us up so bad. Like I don't want
FTL
people
drive
to get
is such
exposed
We can't
to that.
even we can't even
crazy
visit other
idea.
planets in our solar system.
Imagine Americans with the
We still
ability to
burn
go to
fossil
other
fuels.
companies or go to other planets. Americans going to other planets. Just
But
imagine.
that already
have to
says
wipe our
something
own
about
asses.
them. But that already says something about them, that they have all these abilities and they're not squashing us like a fucking bug. That already at least tells me that, you know, maybe they're going to wait and see how
my
things
thought-
are going to go
I think
here.
My thought is
Well,
we're
here's
so
the
insignificant,
thing,
they
if you're-
don't even think about us. Why
Yeah.
would they care?
Yeah,
It's like Don
let's-
Draper in the elevator with that bastard. I don't even think about you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. If you're aware that in the corner of your neighbor's garden there's a beetle walking around, are you going to break into his garden just to go step on it?
Yeah,
But this
you
no.
don't
But this,
you don't go
Hold on.
murder. You don't go murder hobos.
I'm gonna.
just 'cause they
Okay, I
exist.
know all these
Some
are
people
hypotheticals.
do, I mean, I don't
I know
know.
all these are hypotheticals, but I am gonna push back a little bit
Mm,
because if that Israeli guy is right, then they are doing projects together with like the core Black Project people of the United States and of Israel and of I don't know who else, you know, Germany, if we take the whole Operation High Jump thing as fact. So that at least tells me that they're not so above us that they wouldn't associate with us. You know,
You know
it's
what's
more like they
funny?
wouldn't associate with the rabble. That's
Recently-
kind of like the difference.
You know what's funny? Just as an aside about you're saying this Israeli researcher. Apparently everyone's favorite glow in the dark. You know who? Richard Spencer. He got the Fauci ouchie recently, and he said, "Well, in Israel they make it almost mandatory. That means it must be safe if the Israelis."
Okay.
But I just thought that was so hilarious.
Jesus.
Like maybe Richard Spencer would be like, "Well, I guess maybe I used to hate Giorgiani back in the day, but maybe he's right about aliens because the Israelis believe in aliens now." So it's like, I guess it's not as harmful to them.
Well,
It's
this
sort
is-
of like this reverse, like neoconism, only it's like in a negative sense because it's like whatever the Israelis do, it must not harm them, the Zionists, so they must be right. Because
No, but that is actually, unironically, that's a good point, because the Israeli government does care about their citizens, and they wouldn't intentionally do
no,
something
but you know the
to fuck
connotation
them
that
up.
Richard Spencer meant by
Y-
that. But,
yeah, but we, you know, okay, wait. This is what I think about the whole, like, okay. I'm very kind to animals. I have zero reason to be. Okay, there is actually no real reason to not be a piece of shit to things that have no way to stop you from doing so and no recourse. Right? We all understand why that's important. That's why it's important to be moral, because there's actually nothing stopping you from being incredibly awful. Right? But at the
Well,
same
karma.
time,
You can just
yeah,
choose
but
to
nobody's
be a
gonna stop.
bastard.
Nobody's gonna do that.
Wake up and
There's
choose violence.
there's no quick, immediate response. You can do it as much as you want, really, right? So, the point here is, just because I'm kind to animals, right? I treat them well, doesn't mean that I care about their opinion per se, right? I don't give a shit about
You
what
don't
a
go around
dog
asking
thinks.
every dog and cat how they feel
Exactly.
about Israel.
Yeah, I don't care about what a dog thinks. I don't care about what a cat thinks. I don't care about what a bird
Go
thinks.
meet
I
a
don't care about
giraffe
any.
and be like, "Hey, tell me what you think of
Oh.
South
Yeah,
Africa."
But you know what?
gonna-
I will treat them with common decency and respect, right? Because that's a moral character some people have that, some people don't. There is no reason to assume that an alien or whatever the fuck isn't doing exactly that, which is just treat it well, because there's no reason to hurt,
I would disagree.
And cause suffering,
because you don't work on projects with your dog and cat. I mean, maybe you play fetch with your cat.
No, if my dog and cat had the capacity to do projects, I would for sure do projects with them. But
then you wouldn't look at them like a dog or a cat. Then you'd look at them as a higher order being.
I can do projects with a child, but does that mean that that I'm going to listen to the opinion of the child the same way that I would listen to the opinion of an adult?
There are whole political movements that are trying to force this on now.
Yes, I'm aware.
If you were Bosch or Mr. Girl, you probably would listen to those kids.
If you're Pedo Vito.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. He wouldn't listen to a child when it came to that.
Yeah, he wouldn't listen.
Yeah, Vito. I don't think Vito is that Vito going with that gimmick too now, like Bosch and Mr. Girl.
Well, he's
I don't think it's a gimmick.
Because I told Mr. Girl, I was like, brother, that's one hell of a gimmick you got going there. Like, that is, of all the things you could choose to play as, that's like me choosing to play as a bastard. Okay, that's pretty bad. But for them to go where they're going, buddy, they're going for a heel heat on a whole other level, son.
I don't think they're joking.
Well, I know Bosch and Mr. Girl are very much living their lifestyle.
Yeah,
you know, all lifestyles are valid since this is a live stream on YouTube.
Seeing as we're going down a bunch of rabbit holes, there's a story from South African conspiracy theories that I think you'll enjoy. So I think I was very bored like years ago, and I was just thinking like, what do like the new age guys think about South Africa or the significance of it? So I put it into YouTube,
South Africa,
and I found this video of like 2 million views, and the video's title is like "Proof the Bible" or like the Bible happened in South Africa and not the Middle East. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I want to see this proof. So the video starts, it's a very short video. And the video is like, have you ever noticed the names of the towns in South Africa? And he zooms into like a town as like Bethlehem. Now, take into account, these towns were built by Christians. They're going to name their towns after places in the Bible. But this guy found a town called Bethlehem in South Africa, and now he's convinced that the Bible took place in South, or like all the stories from the Bible took place in South Africa, because there's one town called Bethlehem.
That's incredible. Wow. That's like that would be like a New Englander, right, from the U.S. being like, clearly the Bible happened here. Look, we got Bethlehem. Yeah. We got we got Canaan. We got literally.
Well, I don't know, Mormons, I guess.
Yeah, every possible biblical name there's like 17 of in each state in New England. Yeah, like, oh, it was all here.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, Nazareth is right there.
This was like the mind-blowing proof of this video, and the video is like 2 million views and like 1% dislikes, and all the comments are just like mind blown. I'm like,
yeah,
this is an entire community that is just so separate from my existence that I'm just unaware of. I've never encountered these people. Maybe I do. Maybe you walk past them in the street.
Every day. You just don't know it. Yeah, they're all.
But what do you think, though? I mean, the controversial elephant in the room. What do you think of like what happened with apartheid, and like given the light of the African National Congress and what they've done after Mandela? What is your general opinion as an Afrikaner of the whole situation? Not to like again, like not to put you in an awkward position, but I guess that's the $1 million.
No, I've got a very clear stance on it. Apartheid is a failed project of pretty much again imperialism trying to manage a bunch of different cultures and communities through a very powerful state. It's not a capitalist project. It's not a freedom project. It's not a we care about culture project. It was pretty much trying to direct different cultures in certain directions under the facade of you're going to rule yourself, but we're still going to have a lot of say and a lot of influence on your day-to-day stuff and on your policies. So it was there's an excellent video series actually on it on another South African YouTuber's channel called Robert Daigen. His channel's name is Umarubane. And he made a video series on every dispensation in South Africa. So all the orders of authority that they've been. So there's been the Union of South Africa, there's been the apartheid state, and now we're living in the new South Africa. And every one of these projects has been an imperialist project to try and standardize South Africa, or to try and try and rule over a group of incredibly diverse people. So the Union of South Africa was a British project. Apartheid was a statist Afrikaner, well, not just Afrikaner, pretty much a statist South African project. And the new South Africa is the globalist project. It's pretty much so. If Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires, South Africa is the laboratory of empires. And apartheid was an experiment. The Union of South Africa was an experiment, and the new South Africa is an experiment. So don't think for a second that apartheid was also just because you move in reactionary circles. That's the big mistake that a lot of reactionaries in other countries make, is that they think apartheid was also just this perfect system that was just foiled. But in the end, it was still interventionist. It was still an experiment, and it failed because in the same way that when you try to dictate to different communities how they should govern themselves, they're going to start not liking you that much. And unfortunately as well, Afrikaners in our history had become very dependent on black labor to get all our mining and everything going, and the British were also very dependent on black labor. And the thing that happens then is that all this labor needs to be imported into your community. So then you get a demographic shift, and suddenly your community is of a completely different cultural identity and cultural majority as that it was back in the day. So an approach that actually solves this problem is, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, the town called Urania. So it's a town in South Africa that's an Afrikaner town. You can only live there if you speak Afrikaans and identify as an Afrikaner. And it's about 2,000 population strong now. And I've visited quite a few times now, and they pretty much have the right approach. It's not like the apartheid strategy of forcing everyone into their little groups and saying, well, you're going to live here, you're going to live here. It's pretty much, I'm going to go live here in the middle of the desert, and just so I can have my freedom. Just fuck off, leave me alone. I'm just going to live here. I'm not going to take a prime piece of land. I'm not going to intrude on someone else's land. I'm going to identify this little piece of desert in the middle of nowhere, and I'm going to go live there just so I can live out my cultural values and be surrounded by people of my own culture and community. And that's the right approach. That's the approach that apartheid got wrong. Apartheid was still dictating to other groups how they should live, and trying to, through pretty much enact state-managed harmony, which is always destined to fail. The right approach is pretty much not saying I'm going to make sure everyone gets along, but rather saying I'm just going to go over there in that little corner, and I'm going to go stay there. Nobody wants to live there, but I'll go live there. Just leave me alone.
But as far as the people who are living not in the little corner, but like overall in various places of South Africa, what I'm curious about is if there was to have been no apartheid at all, if let's say these places wouldn't have even been settled the way that they were, and maybe let's say they would have been settled. See, it's even difficult for me to say like what if this, what if that. But in general, when
what
we
if
have
Thanos had the Ant-Man crawl inside his ass and then grow real big?
Exactly. What if? But what exactly could happen to get like the level of the places that are currently in South Africa to a higher one, when it comes to there being less crime, when it comes to there being less corruption, and also when it comes to like getting places to the level where in the city you don't have to have railings over your windows? Because there are places in the world that don't have that, and there are places that do. So what do we need to do to have less railings?
Good fucking luck.
In regards to your question, you're asking, just to maybe add some context, you're asking the question of how do you make the current South African system succeed? So you have one government ruling all over all the provinces and all the cultures and different groups. The only way to make that succeed is to have a competent government in charge that's not socialist kleptocrats, people that value property rights, people that value economic growth, people that value culture's freedom to live out their culture and to practice their language. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening in the near future. Therefore, the more practical response and the more practical solution is becoming more state-proof. That was the biggest mistake that the people on the Titanic made, was they thought up until the very end, they believed that the ship wasn't going to sink. So they didn't use their time that they had to build life rafts and to get all the life rafts into the water and make sure everything goes orderly. They waited until the last minute, pretty much believing that the ship's not going to sink. And then at the last moment, they started panicking and life rafts started falling into the water. Life rafts were released with only 20% capacity. And that's what's happening in South Africa is you need to start prepping for the fact that the ANC is going to be in power for the foreseeable future. So you need to start state-proofing your community. That means making sure that you have a neighborhood watch. That means making sure that when your community is in trouble, you have structures in place to support it. And that's what we're doing at AfriForum specifically, is state-proofing communities. That's our strategy. And that's the viable way of doing it. Rather than helplessly trying to fix the entire South Africa, which is pretty much still a colonial creation, an abomination, like a Frankenstein's creation of all these different countries and different nations.
And let's say it was not that. If we could turn back the clock, if that would not have been the trajectory it would have taken, then what would theoretically be the life of, let's say, one of the people who keeps chanting that song and then goes and burns down a farmhouse, and I know this is incredibly hypothetical, but it's like, it's probably not somebody who came from a loving home with loving parents and had a good education, all that. So theoretically, like, what would happen if there would have been an alternate history with people who do these kind of horrible things today?
Lev, I'm going to be very disappointing to you now and say that this is something that I don't indulge a lot in, and is in alternative histories. Because the thing is, what happens then is you have an innate bias when it comes to these types of questions. Because everyone that says, if only this hadn't happened, always think about how things could have been better off. It's always, if just this had happened, things would have been better.
Yeah.
But they never think about all the options about how things could have been worse. And we unfortunately don't know how things could have been. Now, you could speculate. It's possible to speculate, but for me, from my own personal perspective, that's only created a lot of people that feel bitter about history. They look at history and say, well, why did all these things go wrong? Why didn't they just go right? And then they feel very bitter and blackpilled, and that's not something I want to spread.
Yeah,
I don't want to feel
would be absolutely covered in dookie if he was to grow large inside Thanos' ass.
No, but the only reason why I bring it up, I understand that talking about talking about an alternative form of history is very hard. Is very hard and unreliable, and I get all that. But I want to focus on, if right now South Africa is in this kind of situation, what could be a potential future 100 years from now or 200 years from now?
Is a better question, is balkanization, like among the various ethnic groups in South Africa, is that inevitability, or do you think that there could be a competent unified government, or do you think that the problem is the African National Congress, they have such a mythological backing of like Mandela being this like absolute saint that the Western powers are going to defend the ANC no matter what? And so do you think that balkanization, is it going to happen officially or unofficially, or do you think that's just a pipe dream like everything else?
And also I want to add another thing with the balkanization. Do you think that there could be a potential future of balkanization where some people may want to return to more of a pastoral lifestyle, or more of a kind of lifestyle that their ancestors, like with the Zulu, for example, you mentioned they still have a king. Like, have you spoken with people who say, like, who would not mind so much if they did go back to more of like a lifestyle that they had back, several hundreds of years ago? Or have people already kind of decided, no, I like all this modern machinery that's around us, I never would ever want to go back to anything before that?
Well, like I said, I'm being a terrible guest, because the other thing I don't do is really predictions, but I'll speculate. So in regards to what the future can hold, there's many scenarios that can play out. One of the main scenarios is that we continue down this path, South Africa becomes a failed state, but that doesn't mean that everyone's lives are ruined. A lot of people's lives are ruined, but many communities that have built metaphorical life rafts will survive when the Titanic sinks. That's what organizations like AfriForum and the Solidarity Movement are currently doing, is we're building life rafts. We are preparing for the ship to sink. And we've built some very sturdy, well-built life rafts. I mean, we're literally building universities and colleges for our community. That when the state stops having Afrikaans as an language of education in public universities, we said fine, we'll crowdfund a university and build it ourselves, and we did. We built a technical Afrikaans technical college last year called Soltech. It's a wonderful achievement. If anyone is curious about that, I talked to Dr. Dirk Herman about it. So if you go to my channel, you'll see building our own institutions. Go check it out. It's very fascinating stuff. That's the one scenario that I think is what we're heading towards most likely, is the state failing more and more and more, but then communities surviving in their own little pockets, rather than having like massive secessionist movements. So you have, for example, the Cape Independence movement in South Africa, which leads to the second scenario, and that is provinces or regions within the country balkanizing and pretty much seceding from the dysfunctional, rotting corpse. Now, that's possible, but there's at the moment too many variables there where I can make a very solid prediction in regards to how possible that is. I think if secession happens in South Africa, it's not going to be the Western Cape first. It's probably going to be the Zulus in KwaZulu-Natal. They've got a lot stronger of an identity to be able to make such a project work. The Cape still has a lot of hurdles to jump over. An excellent channel to be following for Cape Independence is actually Robert Daigen. He's very much an expert on that.
How do you spell his surname?
Robert Daigen is D-U-I-G A-N. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so it's D-U-I-G-A-N. You can go follow him on Twitter. He covers this shit very thoroughly. So in regards to that, that's the other scenario. How likely these scenarios are to play out is anyone's guess. And yeah, in regards to if I had to trust my gut feeling on what comes next, I would say the first scenario, where the state continues to fail more and more, but communities, and the Titanic continues to sink, but communities start building their own little metaphorical life rafts, and then that's how they survive in the end.
Interesting. And I'm looking at one of the videos titles here from the person you mentioned right now. His YouTube handle, by the way, I think it's Marhobane. Is that correct?
Marubane.
Marubane. Oh man, you said it so much better than I did. But one of the videos here is called Impractical Purpose: Why Western Civilization Must Die. So, have you seen that video? Like, what exactly is he proposing here when we talk about...
I can't remember. I remember watching it, but I can't remember exactly. It's a very complex topic that he got into. Rob's a lot smarter than me. But he's definitely a guy to follow. He makes some quality content, but on his channel, go check out, when you have time, go check out his series on the dispensations. You'll see it's some of his first videos. It goes through the history of South Africa, pretty much in terms of the different types of ruling classes that they've been, and he knows his stuff. You can also follow him on Substack and look at me shilling here for my mate.
Absolutely. And I'm going to load a Substack on as well. And Conscious Caracal, do you have a Substack as well, by the way?
No, I'm not a Substacker, but you can follow me on Twitter and you can subscribe to me on YouTube. That's where I make most of my content. On YouTube, I do conversations with people that are very knowledgeable on topics that I think are important, like community and culture and history and practical solutions. So you'll see most of my channel's content is regarding that.
Any strategies about how you would beat Thanos on there?
Well, I just
go inside his asshole. Yeah.
No, you just go through Thanos's social media history and you find something racist.
Yes.
Or something.
I actually have that one. I have the one where he's got his hands up. He goes to unmask Iron Man, but it's Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder. He goes, "What do you mean,
God.
you people?" And then it just
and then
lights
he
up.
stands on it. He kneels on his neck and everything. And
I haven't got one that goes that far, Gio. This is a little dated.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a little dated. It just says, in big letters, like the news girl saying Thanos is canceled, and there's Thanos just with his mouth open, like, "Oh shit."
Oh wait, by the way, I was also wondering, what is your opinion on Nelson Mandela? That's something we have not asked yet, so I am curious. Like, what is your opinion on him? How do you see him?
Oh,
Well,
the Twitch stream just went down right now. No, I'm kidding.
Didn't he
No,
die
you
in
guys,
prison?
you really want to ask me the hard mode questions, but I'll definitely answer you. I've got a strong opinion. So, in regards to Nelson Mandela, the man, I think you need to, if you ever want to have an opinion on this figure, you need to go read the history and the full both sides of the story. So if you look at the history of Nelson Mandela, I mean, a fact that you can't ignore is the fact that he was part of the ANC during the time when they were doing their terrorist attacks through Mkhonto Isizwe, the military wing of it. He was involved in many of those planning and instructing and strategizing for those attacks. And that's why you need to ask yourself the question, why was he in prison? Now, he wasn't in prison because he was walking around carrying like an anti-apartheid sign. It was because he was involved with terroristic acts and with the planning of it. And when he was in his during his court trial, they told him, I can't remember exactly what the ultimatum was, but they told him like he would get a much lesser sentence or something like that, or he wouldn't go to prison if he renounced violence. And he said he couldn't renounce violence. So those are the facts that you need to know. But at the same time, I'm not one of those guys that's fighting the fight for we need people to wake up to the true Mandela. I'm like, no, Mandela is deceased. He played a very strong role in regards to the rainbowist identity in South Africa for that brief period in the beginning, where everyone thought like the Rainbow Nation was going to work. He has some interesting takes on things, and I don't think that's where the conversation really needs to go. The broader conversation in regards to we need to expose Mandela to the world. Like,
yeah, I heard his strategy about beating Thanos involved a virus. They wanted to get Thanos sick with a virus.
What the fuck are you doing? But anyways, I get. Oh my god, yeah. I get what you mean, because here, I guess when you have any sort of like liberal secular saint in certain subcultures on the internet, it's like that's the immediate impulse to tear them down.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons with that. Remember the statue of what was his name? I don't remember.
Jebediah Springfield.
Yeah, Jebediah Springfield.
Yeah, it turned out that he was actually a pirate. I think his name was Jebediah Sprungfield. It was something crazy like that.
Where you based it off of.
Yeah, he was actually a pirate who had attacked George Washington and had written part of his confession on the back of a painting.
And,
I didn't know that.
And Lisa had the option of revealing the truth to everybody when she was making her speech on the Jebediah Springfield Day, but then she looked at all the faces of the people, and they were so, patriotic.
Yeah, the current Lisa Simpson would have just
even go a step further than that.
You think about the
and burn the American flag.
Think about the Watchmen.
Yes. Yeah, burn the American flag.
In the Watchmen.
Well, actually, speaking
Rorschach's whole thing is Rorschach's ready to go tell people the truth of what really happened of Ozymandias's crazy scheme to unite the world with the Architects of Fear gag, and Dr. Manhattan blows him up over it. So it creates a reasonable doubt in your mind of going, well, is Rorschach the good guy because he wants to tell people the truth, but Dr. Manhattan's trying to keep the world peaceful, so who's the good guy here? Like that, who watches the Watchmen?
Yeah, just to condense that point, maybe. I think all the information isn't scrubbed from the internet. You can go read a very thorough documentation of Mandela's life, and it's even from liberal sources. The nitty gritty is still there. So, and it just feels for me just like such an edgelord stance to take. Is like this is the central point of the culture war in South Africa, is to convince people that Mandela was this terrible person, and we need to focus everything on that. I think that's a very strange, and it's more of like, just like I said, being edgy, because you're attacking a saint, you're attacking a holy cow.
Yeah.
But it's not going to achieve anything. It's not going to do anything. You're just going to be that edgy guy that went to the church and blasphemed, that edgy atheist, and he's like, this is going to change all these Christians' minds if I just
the edge.
So no. I think there's much more important issues to be debated, and I think one of the main issues that needs to be debated and needs to be discussed is the pretty much the promises that were made in 1994 with the constitution. Now, I think South Africa's constitution at the time was hailed by liberals across the world, and classical liberals. It was hailed as like the next best thing after the Bible. This is like this is like the magnum opus of liberal thought. This is only the maybe the American Constitution rivals it. That type of rhetoric. Now we've moved on 27 years later, and people say, and now the classical liberals are saying, oh, maybe it's flawed, because they've seen how that our Constitution has pretty much been butchered, and you can take this classically liberal constitution and you can read it in the most hardline Marxist way possible. And that's what my colleague Ernst Roots always says. The constitution is not the thing in your country that holds all the power. The person interpreting the constitution holds all the supreme power.
But that does then go back to the question.
That was like, it's funny because back in the day, oh, sorry, Lev.
No, go on, Gio. Then I'm gonna.
Just a really quick point. Like back in the day, this was in, I want to say, the early 2000s. Speaking of secular saints, although she's in hell, Bader Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she said when someone asked her point blank, she said,
oh, God.
yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when someone asked her point blank about the American Constitution, she said, if I were one of the people that, because I'm a woman, I would have never been allowed to write it. Of course, she had to put that point in. She said, but I would look to other constitutions that are better than ours. And she actually explicitly said the South African Constitution is a better document than in her vision of America than even the American Constitution. So I thought that was funny how the liberals are like, the libs are canceling the current Constitution now. So...
No, Lev, what did you want to say?
But what were you going to say, Lev, about?
So what I was going to say relates to this in terms of, it does for me go back to the culture. If, let's say, the level of the people, you know, as far as education, as far as like the kind of values that their parents passed on to them would be one where they wouldn't have that much of a problem with the, with the raids on the farms that are going on, or in general with the current state of South Africa as it is. To me, it is never a racial component. It is a cultural one. And it goes back to that question of if it is a matter of, you know, people splitting up amongst themselves, my only concern is that there would be people, let's say, who would come from a particular culture that want to emigrate into a different one. I want to make sure that people would be able to still keep their arms open for people who would get to, you know, the same cultural level and want to participate in that same cultural level, as opposed to saying, well, you are so-and-so, you're from so-and-so tribe, so, you know, just hang out with them, and that's it.
Let's, to answer that question, I mean, let's take the Urania model again. That Afrikaner town is exactly, it's not a racial project. Nowhere in the town's rules does it say you need to be white to stay there. You just need to be an Afrikaner, a Christian, and speak Afrikaans, and you have to assimilate into the town. So a good example of that is a German that lives in the town called Sepp. And he opened a brewery there, and he makes incredible beer. He makes beer from the Orange River that flows through the town. And he's a German. He's not an Afrikaner. He doesn't have Afrikaner heritage, and he couldn't speak Afrikaans when he got there. But he vowed to learn Afrikaans within the first year that he lived there, and he did. And he assimilated 100% into the community, and he took on their values, their religion, their worldview, and their language. So that's pretty much where it comes from, is where communities need to be voluntary. You can voluntarily leave them, but you can't necessarily join them just because it's going great there and you want to be part of the party. There will be very specific requirements, like, for example, you need to adhere to our rules, you need to speak our language, or, for example, you need to be a part of our religion. And that's going to be almost like the barricades that keep your community cohesive. If you take a community or you take a country like Botswana, one of the success stories of Africa is they have a Tswana majority. They're pretty much the Tswana Israel of Africa. If you were to, and there's about 2.7 million population there, I think, if I remember correctly. If you were to import 2 million Zulus into that country, that would drastically change the entire cultural landscape and the identity of that country. That country has private property rights because the Tswana culture value private property rights, not because the private property rights were forced on them by some colonial power. And they're very successful in regards to their values and how they run their economy and how they manage their diamond industry. But if you were to just go full open borders on them, they would be flooded by people of other cultures that would drastically change their identity, and maybe even sooner or later they'll elect a socialist government and they'll abolish those private property rights.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a similar reason, by the way, for another small country that Geo, you know all too well by now, which one I mean, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
Yeah.
So it's that's the situation is and that's also going to be part of the opinion piece that I'm currently writing in response to that liberal piece. Is the fact that communities are voluntary, but to join a community will take certain sacrifices and certain responsibilities will need to be taken on. And this is why I say Urania is the best model, seeing as this is how you preserve your culture. You say anyone is welcome, you just need to adhere to our culture, you need to assimilate into the community, speak our language, adopt our religion, and you need to be a productive member of the community.
That sounds totally fair. I mean, this is the kind of same mode that I like getting into when it comes to these conversations. I think it is a middle path that I'd be very interested in the argument people would make against that.
Absolutely.
Have you heard any arguments against that?
Yes, I have. In regards, I hate doing this in like cartoonishly representing my opponents, but the way I remember their argument is pretty much, yeah, but people have a right to freedom of movement. They can go live anywhere they want. If they want to go live there, they should be able to. South Africa belongs to everyone. If you're not Afrikaans, you should be able to go live in that town, and they shouldn't be able to tell you not to. But the thing is, that town is on private property. The town is pretty much, that's like you saying, I have a freedom of movement, therefore I can walk into your house. So for me, voluntary communities like that are very healthy, and they create very useful and very pragmatic pressure release valves. So if you have a country like South Africa that's a rainbow nation project, you're going to have people of every other culture that don't want to be part of that project. There might be a minority within their culture, there might be a majority, doesn't matter. You're going to have people that don't want to be part of the melting pot, people that want to be surrounded by people of their own culture, that speak their language, that share their religion and their values. Those people need to have an option where they can opt out, where if they don't want to be part of the melting pot, if they don't want to be part of the rainbow experiment, they can go live in this town or in this area or in this place. You're not going to force them there. You're not going to bus them there. You're not going to say you have to go live there. They should just be able to, they should have the option to go live there. And that's pretty much what these types of voluntary communities will be in the end as they grow and become more numerous, is little pressure release valves in regards to, I think they're very healthy for race relations in South Africa. I think they're very healthy to give people the option if they don't want to live in a community where they don't feel welcome. You shouldn't force people to live in a community where they don't feel welcome, or where everyone in their street tells them that they're evil because of the color of their skin, or where your neighbor calls you a colonizer. You shouldn't be forced to live there. If you don't want to live there, there should be an option for you where you can willingly go live. And you shouldn't be forcing people to go live there, but you should also have the option. I think that's very reasonable, and I think that's the future in the end.
And I wonder if there'll be similar things happening in other parts of the world as well, as things keep changing. Like, there would be, in a way, this kind of the balkanization, as you talked about before. Which, I don't know, we'll see. If I'm right about the alien thing, it may work out in a different way, but again, I don't think the aliens are that, I don't think they're that advanced as people make them out to be, honestly. If we take a look at the ancient Greek gods, for example, who I think are definitely aliens, but, you know, they were very human.
Comics.
They're very human-like all their interactions, all their petty jealousy and stuff like that, it's very human. So I take a look at aliens as being humans.
Will the aliens be legal or illegal?
Oh, God,
yeah,
it'll
be like
they're extra legal.
England, if intergalactic aliens land in England, a cop will run up to them and go, "Oh, you got a license to park there?
You got a license to invade?"
That was the job to colonize, not yours. Get out of here. Go on, then. Move along.
Bonks him on the head with a club.
Implying that the British aren't already being ruled by reptilians.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I was about to say they would be like, oh, come right to Buckingham. That's where you guys belong and
That's,
deserve.
I know
the
you're
funny
gonna.
thing. That's the funny thing about the British is they live in a police state, but their police are useless.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
Yeah, I
incredible.
know, eh?
You remember
The
that one?
British
Yeah, they don't even have
contradiction.
guns.
You remember that one police officer, the one wearing that? Speaking of Rainbow Nation, he was wearing like a rainbow egg on his body. I just imagine that's going to be the future for a lot of the policemen there.
Rainbow
It's
egg.
like that line from Train Spotting. He's like, we're Scottish, we're the lowest of the low because we're ruled by a bunch of wankers.
How embarrassing, yes. No, but I wanted to get back to another thing here, which is, since Remus is here right now, I wanted to ask Remus, and by the way, I want to make sure that everybody who is here, that Conscious Caracal, that you're not pressed to go right now, because if you are, I don't want to hold you, but just let me know.
I've still got time left. Don't worry.
All right, excellent.
Hold me now.
I wanted to ask.
Oh.
I wanted to ask Remus. This is something I talked about before, and since I know you're very much into looking at a lot of different tribal cultures and the way that they operate, I was asking before on where the Maasai warriors would stack up when it comes to them versus Zulu warriors. So I'm
The
curious if
Maasai
you...
versus the Zulu, that would be a
Yeah.
good ass scrap. I would watch it. I think well, the Zulu are interesting because like their whole thing was like they just threw away convention, and that's why they became so powerful. Is because they it's like imagine if a Maori tribe didn't do haka, and while you were doing haka, they just went and killed you.
Yeah,
You know what I
maybe
mean?
Before
Like-
you continue, a short summary would be they adopted total war just like Napoleon.
Exactly. They were ready to go. And
Interesting.
nobody else was really down for that, and that's why they dominated. So they might be able to, maybe they could beat the Maasai in terms of like,
Brutality.
yeah. But I think the Maasai are like, it's a different like they've been doing what they've been doing for so long. I don't like.
I'm just curious about their psychedelic powers, because at least that's what I heard, that they
Also,
drink the
they're
psychedelic
long.
brew.
They got that long. They got that reach.
Well, the Zulus got their witch doctors as well.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
this would be
hell
a
yeah.
supports.
Hell
This would be a
yeah.
real
The
scrap.
only
Like, that's
real
what-
magic that I recognize
Exactly.
is Zulu witch doctors.
lots of buffs from the back line. Just
Yes,
lots of fucking,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Well, you
Yeah.
have to take into account those buffs come in the form of muti, which is pretty much a potion made from human parts.
Powerful. Look at that.
Wow.
Oh.
Berserker. Yeah.
So,
They-
it's
yeah.
the virgin psychedelic versus the Chad cannibalistic potion.
the Chad getting Kuru from a cannibalistic potion.
Yeah, Africa
Wow.
Bambaataa
God.
and the Zulu Nation are
It's
coming.
hard to
son,
defeat
and you ain't gonna
warriors
be
with
able to beat
Kuru.
them.
Because they
You
just
know what's
vibrate.
funny when you were saying like don't force like skyscrapers on people? I just thought about that one line about how it took like 7 years for them to fill up an elevator shaft full of garbage in South
Oh,
Africa.
God.
I'm like, oh god.
Well, it reminded me of Gennady Stolyaroff II, whose podcast I actually recently did. That was a fun time. But Gennady, I remember when he was on with Sunny, he was talking about the need to like teach. I don't know if he was talking about African people in general. I think he was talking about like the islanders, like the Sentinelese, teaching them coding.
Yeah,
and
he
how...
did the learn to
Isn't
code.
that
Oh,
a line
yeah,
from
African guys need
what's
to learn to
what's that guy that's always blamed
Sam
for
Hyde?
the shooting? Sam
Yes,
Hyde.
it
Isn't
was-
there a line
yes,
from
yes.
No, it was
Paradigm
a-
Shift 2016
Yeah.
or whatever, where he says like teaching Africans to code, man.
Well, it comes from
Teaching-
my people, the West Virginians. There's a bunch of coal mines,
Yeah.
of coal mines here that were closing, and jabroni journalists actually wrote articles like, well, you know, these coal miners, these 50-year-old guys, they need to learn how to code.
Oh wait, no. He used
guys who've
other terms. He
worked
said,
underground.
he said, I'm talking. Oh, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, I'm at a TED talk. I'm teaching Africans JavaScript.
Yes.
Yeah, it was-
Yeah,
and Python.
yeah.
And Python. That was
Yeah, they
the
need
one.
to know JavaScript and
Yeah.
Python.
Well,
Well,
they probably have experience with actual...
Yeah.
Actually, are there actual pythons in Africa or no? Like giant snakes?
I imagine
Uh,
they're not going to
that-
react well to
you call them,
state-enforced
they call-
homosexuality.
Yeah,
I
the-
only know them by their Afrikaans name, which is a leislang, which literally translates to lazy snake. But in regards to what the English name is, I don't know, but they do exist here. Those
Africa's
constrictor
for
snakes.
sure got crazy big snake boys. Yeah, they also have the mamba. The black mamba's in Africa, so yeah, that's
So,
that thing.
yeah.
Don't fuck with that thing.
Yeah,
I just
Kobe
realized
Bryant
that-
is in Africa.
Yeah, he is. That's where he went.
I just realized
He's
in
hiding.
regards to that previous question of that apartheid-related question, to sum up the two different regimes, the apartheid regime was state-forced separation, and the current ANC regime is pretty much state-forced integration, to put it very simply.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, listen, if anybody has seen the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy, which is a great movie.
Oh, that's
great-
the one with the fella with the Coke bottle.
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
get this
Yeah.
Coca-Cola bottle and they think, oh, it's such a great blessing. It's
Yeah.
helped our tribe.
That's
They can do
exactly the point.
everything,
It's the Coke
everything in the
bottle.
world with this Coke bottle, and then
And
they all
Lev,
start
have
to
you- Lev, have
argue
you
and
seen
fight
it?
over the Coke bottle.
I've
It's so
seen
good.
bits and pictures. I know
They
the
made a
general
couple
gist
of
of
them.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
The
okay. so
first one is the one to watch.
The idea of the movie is essentially these Bushmen, these Khoisan Bushmen pygmies, they don't need anything. You know what I mean? Like they're chilling. They are living the life. They're essentially doing Garden of Eden shit. And one day a cargo plane flies over and it drops a bottle of Coke that's empty, right? So it's just the glass. And they've never seen glass, they've never seen any of that shit, right? And they start using the Coke bottle for like a multitude of things. It's very useful. Glass is very hard. You can knock stuff with it. They find like these multitude of uses for the Coke bottle, but then they didn't have like a concept of want or possession, right? Like nobody owns anything. So
Imagine no possessions.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? They're chilling. They're doing all right. And then the bottle is introduced, and all of a sudden there's a thing to want. There's a thing to desire, and there's a thing to covet, right? And there's only one, and they all need it to do. It's not that they need it; they've all become adapted to using it, right? It's useful, so they'll start fighting over it, right? And then they start calling it the evil thing, and they cast it out of their. And the movie is like the patriarch taking the bottle away and throwing it into the ocean, right? That's his journey. But the idea here is like these people don't necessarily need what it's exactly what Ernst is saying. It's like why is it that we feel the need to try to give these people something that they didn't ask for and don't want? You know what I mean? Like there's no necessary reason to change these people at all beyond the desires of some to exploit area or or whatever reason, right? But we don't really need to do like to me what it comes down to is the initial point of like you're forcing it, right? Like it's one thing. Like Rhodesia is an interesting example because Rhodesia was kind of forcing it, yes, but they were playing the long game. Their intention was for this to be a long process of
leveling up.
Yes, exactly. It takes the time, right? It's not like they're not trying to power level you in 10 minutes.
Intergenerational thing.
Exactly, right? And through that intergenerational effort of coming together to try to make something, that creates the integration that you want. Like these people are working in each other's common interest, right? And as a result, they become Rhodesians. They're no longer two different groups. They're one group working together. And yes, they look different, but it doesn't matter, right? So that was not to do like as you said, not to black pill ourselves as what could have been, right? But that seems to be a good way of doing this. And no offense, Lev, but the Lev method, which is we just want them to level up. It's like, bro, this doesn't work. Like you have to let them want it before you can force them to like. If you don't make it clear, like, dude, they're burning water treatment plants, and
I wouldn't say the Lev method.
Storage.
I wouldn't say the Lev method is that far from what you're talking about. My whole thing is, as far as immigration goes, make sure that the people who actually come to a country that has a certain level have already leveled up to that level. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I can understand that thinking, and I understand it. But the idea here is like, what's going to make them level up? It's going to have to be. Like if you know what I mean, like it's gonna have to. If you really want it, you're gonna have to go do it, or you know what I mean. If they don't,
but then there's another problem.
Down. I'm so tired of society. I'm so tired of bullshit. I'm tired of Twitter.
Yes.
I'm tired of canceling. I want to go live with the Bushmen.
Yeah.
I think me and a bunch of Bushmen Could have a lot more fun sitting around bullshit with one another.
My favorite,
About
yeah,
old
my
comic
favorite,
books.
one of my favorite clips that I saw a while back was, I can't remember what the video's name was, but this guy, like this journalist, goes to one of these untouched tribes somewhere in Kenya or Tanzania, and they're like this hunter-gatherer tribe, and he asks them like, what's important in life? And he's expecting like this massively mind-blowing revelation to come from him. They think, like, meat is important. He's like, okay, what happens after death? And they're like, don't know, don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm dead. Like,
No.
it's, yeah, I've seen that video. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
so what's happiness? How do you attain happiness? And he's expecting from a Western lens they're gonna give him this like noble savage, massive philosophy bomb on him. Like, what's happiness? Like,
He's like, oh, the buffalo step, the walking of the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, some bullshit like that.
It's like
Yeah,
reading
he's like-
the Blackfoot. What's it called? Black Elk.
Yeah.
That was a good book actually, though. But it was like
It's always
that
simple
kinda-
answers. You're right. It's
Yeah.
always simple
Yeah.
answers. Man.
he's like, what's happiness? And when a hunt is successful, that's it. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's happiness.
Yeah.
Or when
We-
when we kill a buffalo, that's happiness.
It's success.
And
It's like,
this-
wow,
and-
what a concept.
Yeah, wow, dude, you just blew my mind. This journalist is
Shit,
probably
now
like
I
a
wanna-
vegan.
Now I want to go to Africa and kill me a buffalo. Why
Yeah,
not?
man. It's
Wait,
big.
are there any
I've
buffalo
eaten
in
a- I've
Africa?
eaten a
Do
lot
they
of
do
Oh,
rifle?
of
water
course there
buffalo.
are.
Water buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What
capable
do you hunt a
bulls.
buffalo with? A rifle?
Yeah, with a rifle, very
shotgun,
strong rifle.
308
Spear.
Lapua. Yeah.
They
Bow
use
and
spears.
arrow.
They use bows and arrows and spears, but you can use guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, the one of the perks of living in Africa is you get to eat a bunch of interesting animals. So I've eaten elephant, crocodile,
Wow.
great white shark,
Huh.
zebra, kudu.
What's the best and worst
I like the
tasting?
way he says zebra. He called it a zebra.
Zebra.
Yeah,
By the
zebra.
way, the zebra can be domesticated, right? So suck on that.
Do people
what's his
ride
name?
them? I've never seen somebody ride
No.
a zebra.
Zebras are more like donkeys rather than horses.
Yeah. They don't really
They're
like it.
donkeys that went to prison and escaped.
Yeah, they're all jacked.
Oh my god, that's amazing. That's clever. I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to steal that for something one day. But Jared Diamond was wrong. Like, they can be domesticated. You can use them to a certain extent, right?
No, not really.
No?
You keep them in like game reserves and on game farms.
But there were photos that I saw of the zebras on, connected to carriages. Was that just a trick? Was that just for show?
I've never seen one in person. I've never seen a domesticated zebra.
Can't they be domesticated? Is that like just the thing, or?
Yeah,
Like, you can technically, but it takes so much effort and you don't get a lot from it. It's not worth it. It's much better to, it's like having a herd of donkeys that you slaughter for steaks, but you have the option of keeping cows instead. Of course, you're gonna take the beef.
Yeah.
I heard
Well,
they're also pretty they're not very nice. Like, they'll bite you. They're not
So,
very
yeah, that's
agreeable
why-
I'd bite a
animals.
zebra.
Yeah.
I'd bite a zebra right back. Don't think I wouldn't. I'd bite the shit out of a zebra.
Another animal that I think probably may not make the best pet, but it looks like such an adorable pet, at least in the photos, is a warthog. Do you know
A lot
anybody
of
who has
a lot of Afrikaners and South Africans have warthogs as pets.
Oh, nice.
So
And-
what often happens is the mother will be killed in like a trap, or the mother will be killed by poachers, and then the babies are abandoned, the piglets, and then a farmer will find them and will raise them as like a dog.
And do they act like dogs if they're raised in human captivity?
They're incredibly cuddly.
Wow. See, I was
But
right
they
about
can-
that.
But,
Yeah.
but they can gash you open with their teeth, so it's a dangerous pet. It's not.
Yeah,
a pet that you
they're
should
fiercely loyal, but they can disembowel you pretty.
Yeah, I know
easily.
a fella who he worked at the local park here. He had there was 2 bear cubs like that. He said he would take ice cream and feed them to him, and dog food and that sort of stuff. Like they loved him. Like, he would get in there and like rub on him like a dog. It was very bizarre to see.
I also heard ostriches are pretty dangerous as well. Like, they can kick you, and that's no good. And they do have ostrich farms in South Africa.
The only time I ever saw somebody ride an ostrich was in Leonard Part 6 from Bill Cosby. Can someone actually ride an ostrich?
No, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Yeah, they'll
it's gonna do everything.
What if it was
in
a
its power
jockey?
to throw you off?
What if it was somebody who was jockey sized?
and then it will fuck you up. Like
Yeah, it's got like dinosaur claws, dude. You need to check some photos.
yeah, they're very scary. They're not.
All right,
they're
I'm gonna
Pretty
go-
much,
I'm gonna Google
they're pretty
this.
much a
Let's-
dinosaur.
Yeah.
They're
Let's Google
huge.
ostrich
They're
claws.
huge.
They do have this fun thing over here, like this bag full of water. You could just jiggle it around.
They do
you
be
know?
having that. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit! Look
Yeah,
at those
you
claws.
go jiggle it around and then it picks one of your eyeballs out. But
Yeah.
Dude, that
so-
one big claw is like what is that? 6 inches long?
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
fuck you up,
they've
man.
got massive.
Holy
they've got
shit.
like
Yeah.
they've got
Hold
like
on, let me
dinosaur
see.
claws, dude.
Oh wow.
Things are huge, son.
Yeah, they're really dangerous. Actually.
Yeah,
it's like cassowaries and all of the other upright big birds. Like
Yeah,
they're
that
all
son
just
bitch,
they're all
that-
dinosaurs basically. They're raptors
I guarantee you that it cut a some bitch's eye out.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. No, they'll tear your guts out. Literally, they'll kick
Yeah.
you and kill you.
Wow.
One
I'm
shot.
looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the dinosaur, dude.
Dude, I watched a video of it was like also they're incredibly stupid and we all know this, right? But I saw one, it was a video of like a bunch of I've never seen anything like this. It's so slapstick. There's a bunch of fucking ostriches standing around and one of them they're in some sort of like pen, right? And one of them has managed to get there's like a pipe attached to the wall and he managed to get his head stuck between the pipe and the wall, right? So he has literally zero space to kind of get, and if he wasn't helped, right, this is what happens. So this fucking ostrich is trying to get his head out and all the other ostriches are watching and he plants his feet and pulls full blast
Oh
and rips
shit.
his own head
Oh
off.
god.
Yeah, and then all of the other ostriches just bolt. It's like I never thought that I would actually see. Like it's amazing that we have cameras now because we
maybe he
see
didn't-
shit like this.
Maybe he didn't get his head stuck. Maybe he just had enough.
Yeah, he's like, this is it. It's over. Yeah, because he was pretty,
Maybe
pretty
he was
legit with that
getting
rip-off.
maybe he was getting ostricized too much.
That's
so
true.
he decided to end
They were
it.
all bullying him, so he decided to just become a hero. Yeah, I get
Mm.
it.
Oh
Oh
god.
man! Now you made me remember that picture of the grave of Mitchell Henderson, where somebody put an iPod there. Do you remember?
What?
And then there was an image of like a Rule 63 Mitchell Henderson, where they just found some Japanese girl who looks exactly like him, like if Mitchell Henderson was a woman. Do you guys know what I'm talking about or no?
I've
Am I
got no
completely?
idea. Like I told you, Lev, I grew up on South African state television. So I
Okay, what
remember
is the
that-
South African state television I keep hearing about? What is going on
It's
there? Is
the-
it like the
it's the-
BBC?
It's the SABC, the South African Broadcasting Commission. So you've got SABC 1, 2, and 3, and it's just like C-tier American and European programming with some South African programming.
I'm always curious
thrown
too about video games, comic books, like what kind of media gets down to South Africa, like.
So in the time that I grew up, there wasn't a lot. So you didn't. I mean, this is before the internet.
So
Well,
like
the
no
internet didn't exist.
Ataris, no Nintendo.
No, my friends weren't playing on gaming consoles. We were driving our bikes through town, throwing rocks through people.
Going on real safaris.
No, actually being little shits, but yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I grew up in
Mhm.
a small countryside town of like 15,000 people. So
And what are some curse words that are specifically South African? How would you break each other's balls on a daily basis?
I'm not gonna repeat them on stream.
It's that bad? Okay. I mean, I don't know.
No,
Like
it's not
sometimes.
that bad. It's just it's a bit of a typical thing that foreign people like to do. Like, oh, say some curse words, dude. I
Ah.
think it's just a bit cringe, dude.
Oh man, you're really putting me on the spot over here as host.
Here's my question.
All right.
Is Die Antwoord popular in South Africa?
They were very popular. I haven't heard from them in quite a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been
Yeah,
a while.
I think
but-
they got canceled. There was something about.
Yeah, it's because Ninja was doing satanic rituals with young girls.
Well, see, I'd heard he
I've
was
got no
messing
idea.
aure with young girls. I didn't hear about the satanic ritual.
Yeah.
Part. I heard they were
Oh
like
man.
Yeah, no,
banging
he was.
hooers. Who would have
Yeah, no.
expected a rapper to bang hooers?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so shocked. A
Him
guy
and-
who's famous banging chicks. Have
No,
you
that's
ever
not what-
heard of
that's
this,
not what happened.
Gio?
It was he was
Can you
getting,
believe it?
he was
Can we get some side pussy? A famous guy? Oh my god.
That's not even what happened though. Like what happened was he some girl who was underage leaked a bunch of
Okay, yeah,
like
now
texts,
he's canceled. Canceled.
texts and shit because no, but if one band, if I was gonna believe one band to be like super crazy and doing like weird occult shit in the background, it would be Diane Werther, right? So the thing was they were trying to get these girls to do rituals with him and Yolandi. And he would use Yolandi as like a way to get in with them. I don't know if any of this is like true.
Yeah, this is,
but that was
that
what
was
was
the claim
said.
I had read,
Yeah.
is that they were using the what was the gal's name?
Yolandi Visser, man. Yolandi.
Yolandi Visser.
Yeah, I discovered them and was like, oh man, this is a really crazy music video. Like, how are they getting away with this shit? Yeah,
Zeph
it was so like kinetic and weird and crazy and like this hodgepodge of like everything all thrown together in a pot. The story I read was that she was luring in the girls. Like that was how they were doing it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not too knowledgeable on this little piece of lore.
Fortunately.
Yeah, there's always deep lore.
Yeah,
always deep lore on everybody.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if you want a bit more of a look into what it was like, what it was like growing up in the South African zeitgeist in the 20s and the 2010s, I actually had a conversation last night with Apex about America and South Africa during that time and what the zeitgeist was doing at that time. So that'll give you a lot more context, more than I can now off the top of my head.
You said with Apex?
Mm.
Okay, yeah. My boy.
Wait, is it our Apex? Which Apex are we talking about here?
The Apex that talks to the Prudentialist and to Oren.
Yeah, Apex.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah.
Apex Simaps,
our boy,
big friend of the show. Yeah.
Do you even know what his original name was?
Apex
Apex
original, yeah?
Hyperion, yeah.
Yeah.
That was, then he changed it because he's like, oh, it's more simple this way.
Yeah, it's
like,
easier to remember. Yeah.
Well, he's an interesting dude. I hope we're gonna have him on.
Oh, you definitely will. He's been busy. He's got a hectic life, but I think he's been on vacation for the last little while. Trying to just get
he was a great guest, very insightful in regards to the two countries and comparing them during growing up in that time. I mean, me and him are very close to the same age. I think I'm 1 year older than him.
How old are you right now, if you don't mind me asking?
He's over 9,000.
Hold on. When you talked, it blocked whatever hand gesture was being made there. So let's see that again.
No, I was counting.
Okay.
I'm 25.
25. Nice. You're very... I mean, for 25, you have done a lot of work, and you're still doing a lot of great work. Like, where do you expect... Where do you expect Afroforum and yourself in general? I mean, this is like a standard interview bullshit question, but whatever. Where do you expect Afroforum and your own position to be in, like, 10 years from now? Where do you particularly see yourself?
Well, I don't see myself as being the king of the Afrikaners in a decade, but I do see myself keeping on working for Afriforum. I mean, this is where I get a lot of fulfillment and meaning. I'm pretty much in the solution industry, if you can put it that way. I'm a solution specialist in regards to state decay and how you counter that. So in regards to how I see myself in South Africa. I'm not going to leave. I'm definitely gonna be staying here. There's this great image that I tweeted out today that pretty much states that at some point you have to stop running and take a stand. Either you, your children, or your grandchildren. Better you than them. And that's the type of philosophy that I'm going to stay for why I'm staying in South Africa. I think we're working on some very tangible, pioneering solutions here. Solutions to problems that the West are still going to have to figure out somewhere down the line. So rather than condemning my grandchildren to facing the same problems I'm facing today, I'll rather be working on the solutions.
That's really good to hear. And as far as technological solutions to problems, how much do you think that factors in as well? Where you may not need a lot of people, you just need a bit of brain power and a bit of tech in order to make certain things that maybe today would be considered to be, miraculous, something that in the future would be commonplace.
Yeah. Well, being able to work from home means you can go live in a town like Urania in the middle of the desert and still run your business from your home there. And you also, crypto opens a lot of doors in regards to finance in that regard. And also the internet, spreading information, spreading ideas, finding like-minded people has never been easier. And I mean, that's how I got, that's how I became prominent. Was I just made a ranting video one day on YouTube and it did pretty decently. And then I made a Twitter account just to promote that video. And I started putting some thoughts on there and it started gaining some traction. And then next thing I know, I've got a sizable audience and I'm getting in contact with some influential people. And then I see there's a job opening at AfriForum and I apply and I list all my little online audience and I say, well, I can bring my expertise in regards to gaining an audience, and you can look at my work that I've written and everything, and that I got accepted. So then I got the job. So in the end, I got a job because the domino effect from ranting on the internet one night because I couldn't sleep.
That's that's how it happens to a lot of people today. But when it comes to let's say something like that Elon Musk internet, Starlink, have you looked into something like that as being something that can help you out?
I think Elon Musk wanted to establish Starlink in South Africa or like a headquarters or something here, but he was rejected because it's not majority black owned. So according to our black economic empowerment laws, he was rejected, if I remember correctly.
But it should be all around the world eventually, no? Like, how does that work? The satellite itself.
Yeah, I can't remember. Just when you mentioned Starlink, I haven't looked too much into it, but I remember he wanted to set up like an office or like some type of headquarters base here, and he was rejected by the South African government.
Well, the office may not be a go right now, but at least the internet itself should be able to eventually play a role, because I think they're doing it by, what is it, by hemispheres? They have it right now around the United States and Canada, like the upper northern area. Like, finally, it's where I am right now. But before, it was a little bit more to the west. So maybe eventually it's going to move its way down and reach South Africa as well. And actually, I am curious, any thoughts on Elon Musk when it comes to, I mean, he's a
what technology, Lev, is going to help in South Africa and his group with fully automated computerized gun turrets at the border? That's probably.
Will the Africans make it to Mars first? That's my question.
They've already been there. Haven't you?
Will Mars have a full luxury communism colony? That's the question.
Yeah, witch doctors are very important to the space travel industry.
No, they are. They bless the ship, man.
Look how much was it?
The space gen.
Parsons. Yeah, look how much Parsons had to help out with rocketry in America.
The space gen. Oh my god.
Yeah, but unironically, Jack Parsons, literally though. Yeah.
He was a Crowleyite.
He was the Crowleyite, son.
Yes. Don't ever mention the Crowleyites on the stream ever again.
Oh yeah, my god.
Mr. Crowley.
That was such a terrible stream. And it was I don't want to even think about that stream ever again.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, I'm curious. Conscious Caracal, are you a fan of witches? Are there? I mean, we talk about witch doctors. There are like sexy female witch doctors around your area.
Let me finish.
She
with
wasn't
my
even
thoughts,
that sexy.
Yes.
Let me finish my thoughts on the
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk first.
Yes.
So Elon Musk isn't really a South African anymore. He's pretty much he doesn't care about the country. I think he has a little bit of disdain for the country in regards to how he's been treated. And I think Elon Musk, all power to him for what he does, but I don't think I'm also not on the bandwagon where Mr. Musk is now one of the billionaires that's on our side. He's our guy. No, I don't think so. I think
no soy facing from you.
No, he's just a billionaire that understands memes and likes to mess around and troll a little bit. But he's definitely not based. I
bet he still wipes his ass just like everybody else.
But big if true.
He probably pays Grimes to do it. Never mind.
That's about all she's good for.
Wait, is that why she's named Grimes, because of the? Never mind.
No, Elon is pure Reddit.
Lev, just a more trivial question. What are you working on back there? Like, what are you drawing? You haven't given me the context.
This is actually the first time I probably haven't given the context of what I'm doing. I did not do the introduction this time around, but I'll tell you, this is, it's called Muscles. It is a character that I created. This is an NFT piece. Right now I'm trying to just get rid of some of these extra layers, because I got to the point where in this program Clip Studio Paint, there are no more layers. So I have to get rid of layers. You know what I mean? Like I got to, what is the number here? I mean, like, it's into the thousands, probably, of the amount of layers that I have in this thing. And,
Over 9,000.
Exactly, and getting rid of these layers allows me to put in new layers to fill in all these things. So it's a very detailed piece, which is going to become an NFT, so people will be able to purchase this later on a Super Rare. But the way that I also went about this is a lot of these characters, like the fish, maybe this guy over here giving the massage to the fish with his grandfather, deer antler man over here on his back, and maybe some of these other characters like Miggy, for example. This is Miggy, not Mickey. Miggy. This is Miggy. See, he's like an old shriveled up mouse man climbing on top of this pyramid over here, and there's this Aztec looking bird thing and this bird bug scorpion over here, like all this. And oh look, he's got a penis nose. All this is eventually going to have its own card, its own separate NFT. This guy definitely is going to have his separate NFT. His name is Deer Man. See, he's got the deer horns, and he also has this tail over here, which looks very angry at whatever it is that's going on. Then we have these cactuses or cacti, and these fellows over here who are conversing with them. And we have this monkey man over here. Oh, I found another layer I can get rid of, I believe. See, this is blue over here, so I could probably, let's see, do I need this? Okay, I probably need that, but I don't need... See over here, like this underlayer with this blue? So that is something that I could probably get rid of. But anyway, this monkey man over here, he's dancing around with these rings. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this. And there's this rooster man with these beautiful, bountiful breasts over here.
Oh, God.
And, yes, and a couple of more characters. So anyway, I'm gonna turn many of these into their own NFTs eventually, so that way I don't just kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I kill 20. But they're all part of this main mothership artwork here.
But Lev, what does it all mean?
I don't know, it's just stream of consciousness stuff.
Oh.
You know? They're all
essentially
probably...
a dream made manifest.
It's like
Exactly.
Dadaism. It's like that.
No, don't compare me to Dadaism, Geo. This is,
Why,
I
you're
mean,
not a communist, Lev?
No, you should... No, this is like... Okay, this is
Why
like...
don't you like Karl Marx? Are you not...
What's his
do you
name?
not support
Come
by
on.
large mansions?
What's his name? This is like...
Cesaro was friends with
Bregel?
Ebola. I mean, you're friends with me, so it's like...
Okay,
Kinda
well,
the
this
same
is
thing.
like Bregel. This is like the Garden of Earthly Delights. Who is that? What's wrong with me? You know who I'm
Hieronymus
talking-
Bosch.
Thank you, Hieronymus Bosch.
Wow.
Exactly. So
But
it's
yeah,
that
but
kind.
actually, it does remind me of Bosch in a way. I do like
Little
that
bit.
comparison.
It's that kind of
Like
Garden of
if
Earthly
Bosch
Delights
was
stuff.
doing doing like early Disney style, or like weird Eastern European cartoon style, like Bosch version.
Kind of, yeah. And some of these are incomplete, so I still have to make this guy over here and this half moon. And over here, there's like these higher end beings, like these cat people. Another thing, by the way, I do want to create.
Wow,
like,
Lev even putting next level cat Jin in his fucking
Yeah.
NFT. Yeah, Lev,
Yeah.
I
See,
was
like this
gonna
guy,
ask,
he's kind of excited, and
you know
this
that,
is like
you know that
business
otter,
cat.
the otter, that the dancing otter, that very old GIF that everybody knows. The otter sort of just rolling like a let me try to find it.
I don't know.
I want
this
you
one.
to put him in one of them. The
Okay.
dancing otter.
All right.
It's
I don't-
Lev. It's like this GIF was made for you, and you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna have to check this dancing otter out.
I will find right now. Here he is. He has a fish. It's
Wait.
just a picture of him. Okay.
I've never seen this. Wait, hold on. Where is this?
Here.
Did you send this to me?
I'm gonna put it in Jules. Jules, what is that, Jules? What the fuck?
I thought that was the otter.
No, this is a picture of the otter.
I have never seen this
You've
before.
never seen
Okay.
this otter dance, dude? Just
No.
literally, unironically, look up dancing otter on Google and look at the images, and it literally the first image.
Okay, let me check it out.
Then go watch the dancing raccoon.
Yeah.
There's an old man who dances with a raccoon.
Oh, that's cool.
I know, Ernst, have you ever seen the dancing otter before?
Dude, how have you not seen this? This is so old.
Hold
No,
on.
I've not seen a dancing otter.
Wow. Okay, I'm looking at it right
Dancing
now.
otter.
It's got pretty good moves.
Isn't this from
Exactly.
a cartoon?
It's from a cartoon. He's holding his fish and he's hype about the fact that he got his fish.
I've never
That's
seen
his
this. I've
dance.
seen like the picture of the otter with the thing in his hand, but not
Yeah,
like.
but him
Um,
actually in motion.
I'm saving this gift to my meme database.
Yes, exactly. See, it's pure. Everyone loves it.
Oh my god.
So Lev, please
Yes.
inject this otter into your NFT somehow. Okay?
I'll definitely,
Do
I will
otters
definitely
eat
check it out.
fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Otters
Yeah.
are fucking brutal, man. They will.
Are
eat
they
the fuck out of
related to
it.
like stouts and ferrets?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
yeah,
they're
they-
mustelids. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like
yeah.
amphibian ferrets.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And ferrets
Apparently,
are,
stouts are pretty vicious too.
dude. All mustelids are killers.
Yeah,
Killer.
they're just small.
Yeah, they're just exactly. They're
It's
just
a
small.
shame
Whoa.
Will's not here because he has
Yeah,
an
like
otter.
Wolverines.
Yeah. Wolverines are mustelids too.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you make it as large as like a lion, that thing is gonna like
A
rip you
death
into
machine.
pieces.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
man.
death machine. Nothing would be
That's-
able to fuck with it.
That'll
honestly.
be like Jurassic Park in real life.
Seriously. No, they would
Imagine
be
if the
scary.
apes are just roaming around fucking people up.
That's the Joe Rogan. If there
The
were as
Joe
many
Rogan.
chimps, if there were as many chimps as there were people, things would be fucking crazy. You wouldn't be able to go to your car. They'd rape you on the way out. You'd eat your feet and your hands.
It's like that clip from Joe Rogan as well, where he's talking about in this very philosophical manner to his guest about, wow, have you thought about how they put a monetary value on a human
On life itself.
And then he's like,
Yeah.
have you seen that clip of the guy hitting a moose with his card? Hey Jamie, pull that up.
Pull
Jamie, you
that
gotta
shit up,
see it, yeah.
Jamie.
You gotta see it, Jamie.
We
Pull
would
it up.
probably genocide the gorillas if that happened.
Yeah, if gorillas were doing that, yeah. Well,
If
no,
they
we
were
wouldn't
like,
we wouldn't be able to stop them.
yeah,
Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
One of
What are
my
you
other
gonna do
favorite
about it?
edits is also that edit of Jordan Peterson versus Peter Jordan.
That is so good. It is
and it
so
ends,
well
it ends
done.
with that quote of like, I can kill 50 men the time it takes you to hang me.
that
love
was
that shit,
that was a
man.
Carl Panzram quote. That was he's like, I could strangle I could have killed all of you by now, but when they were gonna hang him.
Yeah, I
He's
could have
like,
killed
"Where-"
all of you by the time it's taking you to just put me up. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's hardcore. Imagine you're gonna kill a guy and he's like, "This is incredibly boring." Like, he's just like lame, just yawning the whole time. You're about to fucking.
My
execute.
favorite Panzram quote was if humanity was a collective neck, I'd throttle it dead. Oh man.
Yeah, Lev, put
But-
that otter in, or we're gonna.
I think Carl Panzram is my favorite serial killer. I mean, all these people they talk about like Dahmer and Ramirez or whatever. No, like Edwin Kemper, he's gotten a
Yeah,
big,
Kemper's great. Kemper's
Yeah,
very
he's
fun
got
to
a-
listen to.
he's a guy you would have had a beer with. Him and the other one. What's his name?
Kemper's terrifies me just because he's so huge.
And he's nice too.
Yeah, like, and
Yeah.
he's very unassuming.
Well, you
Like,
know, they
yeah.
always say that about the serial killers, that they were such nice, quiet guys until
Yeah,
they
except
drilled
Ramirez.
holes into some gay guy's
Except
head.
Richard
No,
Ramirez.
Ramirez
definitely
was
wasn't
always
like that.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
Ramirez
there
looks
is
like
also-
a fucking Mexica blood priest.
Well, you look at
Unironic.
somebody like
There-
Charles Manson, even like that's not a normal guy. Like society wasn't made for Charles Manson.
Yeah, but he got MK
Yeah.
Ultra. That's not the same.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
There is
Oh,
also
oh.
there is also that serial killer, but not a serial killer, more like a criminal killer who just like goes around demanding money from people and killing them, which is Malevin. So that's the other thing I remembered right now. Speaking of South Africa, have you guys seen that documentary, the one with Louis Theroux when he visits South Africa and he meets this guy named Malevin who's dressed up in this sweater? I know Conscious Caracal. Do you know who I'm talking about? Have you ever seen that?
Malevin. What?
Malevin. Yes.
Why is he talking to him? What is his expertise? What's his profile? Give me the lore on this guy.
Okay, here. Let me try to find a picture
Malevin
of Malevin.
Poliakis.
Oh God,
Is it-
Gio. Fuck you.
Is it
Hold on.
spelled like M11?
Louis Theroux. Okay, I'm looking up right now. Let me see. Malevin. It's not
I think-
Melvin.
I
Okay.
controversial take, but like
Melvin.
No, it's
Melvin.
not Melvin.
Hi, I'm the serial killer Melvin.
I mean, Edmund Kemper's mother probably deserved it. Like, if you look up how
wait, you're talking about the 11s, like the gang,
No,
like the
no.
numbers gang.
No, I'm talking about this guy named Eleven. I'm just trying to see what his
No,
name
maybe
maybe
guy
he-
named Melvin.
There's a Lev probably. I don't know if Lev would have caught this one. There's a feller from America. I believe he was active in New York and New Jersey. He was a mafia hitman called the Iceman.
Yeah,
They
Richard
actually-
Kuklinski.
Richard Kuklinski. He actually was interviewed by psychiatrists and stuff on HBO. Like they made
Yeah,
it.
that was
There
a
was
great one. Yeah.
there was like 3 or 4 parts to it too. Like they interviewed him in different years, and he was so. You want to talk about based. I don't think there's been a more based character in the history of the world who is willing to tell his story more so than the Iceman. And the Iceman was completely stone cold about, I bought a crossbow and I just wanted to go out and use it. And went out and shot somebody.
They say he lied about a lot of things, though. Like, some of his claims were kind of ridiculous.
You don't think that that it's fully capable that a fellow would just buy a crossbow and go, man, this thing is cool. And shoot somebody in an alley and leave them laying? And then drive by 3 days later. He said he drove by 3 days later, and those 3 garbage bags, they just weren't laying there.
By the way, here I posted it in the chat. You can see over here. There's not gonna be sound, for copyright purposes.
Maybe it is about the gang, Lev, that you just
is that the interview he talks about putting some? I actually don't want to describe it because it might put you in trouble.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen this, but very, very long ago, like years, decades ago. Or like I can't remember when it was uploaded, but it's a long time ago. But I remember this. Yeah, but that's the type of criminals you'll sometimes find in South Africa. Some brutal stuff.
And it's not like serial killers. It's like he described his own childhood growing up. That there were people from the army that were looking for his brother or the brother of his brother. I remember, and they ended up massacring the entire family, and those are British troops from what I understood. Of
course they were.
So like stuff like that. It's
there's so much crazy stuff that goes on in Africa. You think about the M. Bison from Street Fighter 2, and he says, for you it was the most important day of your life, but for us it was Tuesday. Like there's so much of that goes on in the world. It's terrifying to have that thought of, these guys, British troops just roll through places massacring people all the time, like for just
it's
because
you can't, there's not really anything that can be like, what are you gonna do about it? Like who's gonna
stop
them?
Context, now during the riot, South Africa had to deploy our armored ambulances. Now, tell me you live in a third world country without telling me you live in a third world country.
Armored ambulance. If we don't put the armor on them, they just shoot at.
Have you seen the footage of they had some kind of shooting and people were twerking and dancing on an ambulance here recently?
Yeah, that was here.
Yeah, that was in the States.
By the way,
within the last like 2-3 months.
I almost forgot. Shout out to our good friend. What's his name? Kobayashi's Basculist.
Yeah, that thread is incredible.
He's got a mega thread of videos from South Africa that blew up. And it's just absolutely incredible what they're doing.
Also, big credit to him because during that thread, somebody posted a video it was a fake video of some guy who looked like an organizer of some sort speaking to a bunch of people, and all that you're hearing is go out and kill, go out and kill, go out and kill.
It was a
fake video.
Deceptively edited, but not deceptively edited in the way that the media uses that term in terms of it challenges the narrative, therefore it's deceptively edited. No,
it was literally fake, right? Yeah, because somebody else posted the same video but with the actual actual audio, right? And Kobayashi, as soon as he saw that was not real, he immediately deleted it. And big ups to that because it's so easy to just be completely just a piece of shit about things, right? It's such an inflammatory fucking situation. You don't need to make it worse.
Yeah, Lev, just a heads up, I gotta run in 10 minutes.
All right, and
I've got work tomorrow.
Before you run, I want to make sure that everybody here gets a chance to ask any pressing South Africa related questions or any questions that you want.
I'm assuming that Charles's question is going to be the most pressing of all.
Yes, of course.
The
Yeah,
Thanos
what if we
related.
kissed in South Africa?
Well, actually, speaking of Rainbow Nation, is there like a how much
Oh,
is
God.
the gay
shit.
community active in South
The
Africa?
gay
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question. Just repeat it.
How active is the gay community in South Africa, like
Yeah.
LGBTQ and all that?
There's a pretty big alphabet community in South Africa. Yes.
Hmm.
Ligadaba.
Like I wasn't sure exactly how that. By the way, was this camera unstable the whole time? No, it's good. Okay, because there are, for example, I know in Jamaica they have this term called "batty boy" and some other terms.
Oh,
like,
God.
you know what I mean, right? Like, so
Well, I know that a lot of
Batty boy.
batty boy.
oh, God, I know that a lot of
I
this.
show with a lot of Caribbean.
And
good
Chi
people.
Man is another one.
Oh, God. I know the South African art world is pretty big in the West. Like, it's Nigeria and South Africa, like the fucking woke people.
Yeah.
In the art world in New York, they like import them over here. In North America, and so I know they spread a lot of the contagion of.
Oh God, Gio, don't call it that.
Never
Okay,
mind.
wait. But I just thought of something. Are you
Ideological
okay?
contagion.
You guys know Dragon Ball Z, right? So what if during the time that Goku
Lev,
had
are you
to go,
trying to make a
hold
point
on,
with
had to
putting
go-
Dragon Ball Z and African people? You're trying to make a point.
Hold on,
about
Gio,
this?
you don't even know what I'm about to say, which is probably good that you don't know what I'm about to say because it's a lot worse than you think. What I was about to say is that imagine in Dragon Ball Z, if Goku was going to be away fighting, then Chi-Chi would have to act the role of the man, so she would be given like some magic sensu bean to turn her
my
from
God.
Chi-Chi into Chi-Chi Man.
What?
I
I don't know what you're saying.
I love
This
how
is-
much he loved the build up to that. He was so excited.
He was
to
He
do
told
planning
that joke
it.
for himself. That was just a
It's,
joke
we
for
were
himself.
just a
that.
witness
Look how
to
much he
it.
is laughing.
Chi-Chi, man.
Can,
Do they-
can one of you play like a laugh track?
Yeah, for Lev, right? He
We
needs
probably
one.
could,
He
yeah.
needs one.
A
He
love
just-
track,
yeah.
yes. No, I just imagined it right now, this transformation, like, "Arr!" Just like turning into,
Well,
just like
what
Goku
were-
turns into the ape, she turns into the man.
She just gets all hairy. She gets a fucking goatee.
Oh, God.
Well,
What was
her dad is huge. If you remember in the show, Her
Exactly,
dad's the
she gets
giant.
the traits from him.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Makes sense.
it's all
Alright.
genetically passed
Yeah,
down.
I'm with you,
Chi-Chi
Lev. I'm
Man.
with you. I'm with
Thank
you.
you.
Have you, Carstro, have you ever been to other countries in Africa? Like, I know, I guess, like, Kenya, like Nairobi, has a big tourist industry. But
yeah, finish your question.
no, like, is it radically different from South Africa, or is there like similarities or?
So when I was growing up, my parents had a philosophy of you don't have to travel the world, you can travel South Africa. So I know South Africa very well. I've been in every city in South Africa. I've been in every province, and I've pretty much seen every site there is to see in South Africa. I haven't been to any of the neighboring countries, but I've been to Lesotho on a work mission.
And have you ever been out of Africa in general? Traveled Europe, traveled the States?
I've been to Europe. I went on like a student tour to Europe when I was in high school, and I was an exchange student in Germany. So I've been to, and this tour that I went on was to the Netherlands and England and France and Italy, and it's incredibly cheap. I don't think they do it anymore, but it was like always this incredibly cheap tour that you can go on, and they take you to all these countries, like a bunch of South African students. It was really nice, but I don't feel at home there, even though my ancestors come from there.
What would you say it is about, I guess this is kind of like the final question, which I think would be a fitting one. What do you think it is about South Africa that keeps you there, keeps you to the land, keeps you to the people?
Well, firstly, if you take into account that my family's been here for 9 generations since 1688. For me to just leave now because things got a little spicy would be the biggest anticlimax of note. And secondly, like I said earlier, I will rather pioneer solutions here now today for problems that other countries that a lot of South Africans are immigrating to are bound to experience, then condemn my grandchildren or children to those problems. And
Like
also,
a Thanos shows up, you got to be ready for him.
yeah. So also in that regard, and this is more on more of an abstract level, a lot of people have always asked, like, why don't you just immigrate, bro? Well, look around you in regards to your youth and like your Zoomers and your, especially young men in your country and Western countries. Look how they're desperate for meaning. Look how they pretty much, most of them are blackpilled or just LARPing as extremists online or doing anything that gives them a little bit of meaning or community. But what they're really striving towards, or striving or hungry for, is just community. They're just looking for pretty much something that's gone, something that was robbed from them, something that's very normal. They're just looking for normalcy, where you're part of a community that is a strong moral character, where you do your part, you fit in, and you know your neighbor, and you pretty much have a very nice existence in that way, a simple existence. But now you have to live in your pod and you have to eat the bugs. And so in regards to South Africa, I get that meaning and fulfillment here. I get it from being surrounded by my own community. I get it from speaking my language. I get it from being an Afrikaner. I get it from working towards solutions here. And that's a very fulfilling and meaningful life. Yes, it is incredibly scary sometimes in South Africa, and it's very rough here. But at the same time, it's my little corner of the middle of nowhere where a nobody can be a somebody. I'd rather be a somebody in South Africa than a number in the US or in England or whatever, and be safe and comfortable. But I hang myself at like age 30 because I don't have any meaning in my life. There's meaning in fighting. There's a meaning. There's a lot of fulfillment to come from struggle. It's the human condition. There's, especially for young men. I mean, you can just look at how depression drops during wartime, where men aren't, the meme goes, men aren't happy unless they're literally at war. And I get a lot of fulfillment here in South Africa. And maybe a final point there, in regards to the bigger picture, if all the Afrikaners were just to leave South Africa and immigrate, they'll assimilate into the countries where they move to, and then my culture is dead. That's the end. That's the end of the story. A very cool and amazing story, but it will end in a whimper, and I'm not gonna contribute to that. So maybe just to sum up in regards to that, I'd rather live in a very dangerous country and follow what we have saying in Afrikaans, my roeping, or my calling that God has given to me, rather than immigrating for material reasons or for comfort to another country and just become a number and a nobody there. I'd rather live in the dangerous country and be a somebody.
That is really well said, and I think that is something that people are missing today, this sense of community. I don't, again, like, I know Gio's sick and tired of me saying this, I never want to look at the past with rose-colored glasses either, just because I don't know what it was like to live in that kind of an environment as far as what most people were subjected to. Was it the, very nice and cohesive structure where there was a lot of, trust amongst people? Or were there things going on behind the scenes as far as, I know, Gio, I'm going to bring up spousal abuse, but, like, anything of that, yes, I know, yes, you have every right to groan, but the only reason why I say this is I'm not looking for a perfect answer here. There may not be a perfect answer, but in your experience, like, listening to your fathers and grandfathers and people who came before you, was there a general kind of trust that certain things of that nature would not be tolerated?
So things of what nature?
Spousal abuse, abusing, beating one's kids, things like that.
Well, in regards to my parents and my grandparents, Afrikaners are very staunch Christians in that regard. So any type of sin in regards to the Bible would be very heavily condemned and ostracized.
True, but to the point of people who were, very big Christians, they still had things of that nature. But
at the same time, you're going to find that in any human society, in any community. There's no community without sin. You're never going to find a community that doesn't have people that beat their wives, or a community that doesn't, where members don't steal from each other. The fact is just that there's something that's been lost, and you don't have to, by acknowledging that doesn't mean that you're looking at the past through like rose-tinted glasses in terms of I want to go live in a medieval society. No, I just want to live in a society where I know the name of my neighbor, where the street has as social events, where people are free to speak their language and live out their culture without being persecuted or attacked or shamed or banned. And where you have that sense of community and that sense of belonging that was there for the majority of human history, but has pretty much been under threat ever since we've entered this neoliberal hellscape of globalism, where everyone just needs to be standardized. You need to you just create a standard man, and everything is just becoming more empty, more meaningless, more narcissistic, more individualist, and that's something that I'm fighting to bring back. Not to, like I said, not to LARP as a 17th century community or like a village, but just to bring back those values of having a community, living in a high trust society. Living in a high trust society shouldn't be abnormal. It was the norm for so long, and now it's become abnormal. I should know. I live in one of the lowest low trust societies in the world. It's not normal. It's not healthy.
And do you think that the Afrikaners that they've been like do they have the same like North American levels of, like, I guess for lack of a better term, white guilt over the regime, and they're always constantly reminded of how evil they are? Do you think like there's a way of reconciliation? And I don't mean like, I mean genuine, not like because like being from Canada, the Truth and Reconciliation Councils are a total psyop. It's total globalism. But do you think that like there's a way for Afrikaners in particular to like crawl out of their collective guilt over the past, or is that an impossibility?
No, it's absolutely possible. A very large chunk, I would say the majority of Afrikaners don't suffer from white guilt. They don't suffer from guilt. Yeah. No, Afrikaners are still very proud of who we are, know our heritage, know our history. There is a large portion that have been brainwashed into this type of guilt, but they are definitely not the majority. I mean, here's a statistic that will prove that to you. So, AfriForum has 285,000 members, and to become a member, that doesn't mean your whole family, every one of your family members become a member. It's usually one person in a family, usually the husband. So we represent at least 350,000 Afrikaners or 400,000 Afrikaners. And then there's also the broader solidarity movement, which we form part of, which together represents about 500,000 Afrikaner families, or close to 1 million if you really do the math in regards to one person representing an entire family. And there are only 2.7 million Afrikaners. So almost half of them support the solidarity movement. And the solidarity movement is an anti-guilt movement. It's we should be free to be proud of who we are, and we're allowed to be proud.
Sounds a lot like West Virginia to me. Like West Virginia is exactly what this guy's describing. A place where people can be exactly who they want to be, say what they want to say, do what they want to do. Like, you know, you do you, brother, and I'll do me.
You just want to drive that country road, eh?
Yes. Very much so. The Old Town Road. And ride.
Didn't Abby Shapiro sing that song?
Sure hope she did.
Yeah, we gotta get her on the show.
Yeah, I'd like to get on her.
Holy fuck, that would be insane.
She's got nothing to talk about, though. That's the problem.
How dare you?
Yeah. What are the chances she has thoughts about comic books or pro wrestling?
No, but I want to make sure, Ernst, since you don't have a lot of time left, I just want to first thank you so much for coming on. I think this is a very important topic that we discussed today, including the aliens. But apart from
it's a lot of fun hearing from people that are from a different place, like a whole different culture and world.
Well, it's not just
feels very interesting to me.
It's not just that. It's also like you're dealing with something that many nations are going to be dealing with in the next little while here, and you're doing it with class, you're doing it with grace, you're doing it with intelligence. It's important, guys like you, especially you're 25. That's like That's insane to me.
And South
right?
Africans have way more balls than us Canadians ever will.
No, 100%.
When
The
it
South
comes to-
Africans
yeah,
have actual balls.
Yeah, a lot of
They're
South
not leaving.
Africans. A lot of
if
South
you want
Africans I
some-
talk to are what the kids call based.
Yeah.
Even red pill.
Afrikaners are ridiculously based. That's also why I want to stay amongst my own people and not immigrate to a country.
I don't
that's,
blame you.
But at the same time, a lot of South Africans, we constantly as young South Africans say we've been forced to grow up very quickly. You can't really stay a child in a country like in a third world country. You have to grow up very fast. Up until the point where in my current position, if you go to my channel, you'll see I did a presentation before the South African Parliament earlier this year on why expropriation without compensation is going to be an unmitigated disaster.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Man.
the clip is on my channel if you want to check it out.
That is amazing.
And
going to
final
definitely-
question.
Yes.
What is your opinion on Seether?
See, I like them better when they were sarin gas.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The one album I remember when I was a kid, that was pretty cool. But then I listened to their new stuff and it's kind of like this.
They've just become
It's all
generic.
right. Yeah.
They're not unique anymore. But yeah, Lev, thank you very much for having me on. I really enjoyed the chat. I'll definitely, whenever you want to chat again, I'll make some time.
Thank you.
We just got to sort out the time zones. They are a bit of a bitch.
And please follow Conscious Caracal on Twitter at Caracal, and of course YouTube / Conscious Caracal. I am posting both in the chat. And yeah, this was an amazing conversation, and you are a very important person, especially today when a lot of people have become very infantilized. You are somebody who adds a very important dose of reality into what's going on, and you're actually working on solutions as opposed to just complaining, which I think is not something that a lot of people, especially those who are online, are doing. So I tip my hat off to you, and much respect.
Thank you very much, and yeah, thanks again for the excellent chat. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And guys,
thank you. God bless.
Thank you. We are going to be ending this really soon. So,
adios, muchachos.
Have a good one, man. Thank you for talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's cool meeting you, brother.
And I do like Caracals more than Servals, by the way. But they're both very beautiful
By the way, I just
creatures.
have a tweet. I have an excellent tweet.
The Caracals are the floppas. The Caracals are the floppas, right?
Yeah, the flop. Wait, are you talking about the Brandy Love tweet? Is that the one you're talking about?
Oh, God.
I just totally dunked on her.
Oh, no. What did you do, Gino? What did you do?
And I only know about this just by reading descriptions, okay? I know nothing about Brandy Love.
Sure.
Don't.
He's never seen Brandy Love.
Yeah,
working.
I've never.
Ever.
Why did she get that tattoo on her foot? I never understood that. It looks like some weird. It looks like a weird birthmark. Yes, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I genuinely never watched MILF porn because it was just weird. No.
Never, not ever.
I found
Never,
I found most of those women incredibly unattractive because I don't like bolt-ons. You know what I mean?
You prefer a gal who's young.
True.
You want
Wait, what's a bolt-on?
When their fake boobs are like they look like they were bolted onto their chest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they'd be able to survive an airplane crash, at sea.
Exactly.
It'd just be like
man
of warring it.
Yeah. Like the mainstream ones that everyone thinks of, like Lisa Ann, Brandy Love. Yeah, they look kind of, but like, I don't know.
Listen,
I think it's kind of weird how like MILF porn
older
is so
women.
popular nowadays.
Whatever happened to our girl Mercedes? Is she still in prison?
Yeah, I think she.
Like what's
who's
Mercedes? Oh my God. She got
Didn't
memory hold so fucking
Yeah,
fast.
what happened with
hilarious.
Mercedes Carrera? Like
everyone in Gamergate got fucked. Anita just had to wait. That's literally all she had to do was wait before they destroyed themselves.
The only normal
Mercedes Carrera was like involved in some pretty heinous shit against children.
Yeah, she was doing some stuff.
That was my understanding. It was something with drugs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
her and her pimp boyfriend was
just
like
throw that one off the fucking boat.
And so like what happened was after I think nobody involved in Gamergate has ever talked about her.
No, she once people found out what she did, they were like,
I remember there was this stream with Gavin McGinnis, and like I want to say,
is that guy still around? What's he doing now?
Yeah, Gavin's still
around. He has
around.
his own thing.
Yeah. By the way, Remus, thank you very much for not going ISIS mode. I know that you were gonna start, and then you like took a step back and said boat. Yeah, so he could she could take a nice swim.
Trying to stay out of it as much as possible, and just try to lighten things up with wackiness.
Like
as goofy as I could possibly go.
I remember like there was this stream with like Gavin McGinnis. It was his show when he was on the Anthony Coombe EA network.
And is that the show that he would get in arguments with Copper Cab like literally every day? And then he showed his asshole.
Didn't he box him? He ended up boxing him.
He had the dildo. And so one time, I think it was him and someone else. It may have been like Sam. Maybe it wasn't Sam High, but it was one of them. Where it was like where it was Mercedes Carrera, and he's like, just to prove a point. Now that we're talking, like, you know, when she like takes her tits out and like flashes her, you know what, down there, what she's talking about fucking Gamergate. And it was the most surreal like clip ever.
It's like
and
Howard
it was like
Stern.
censored, right? But it was like.
It's like Howard Stern. They're talking about like politics, and he's like, "Oh, can we just see your pussy real quick?" And
yeah,
like,
exactly.
What's happening?
Yeah, Mercedes is kind of gal. It's like, well, I guess I'll pull it out.
Yeah, I'm I am a porn star. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, it was really weird, like how, I guess like, I mean, maybe people in nudist colonies, they like find a way to work around it, but like, it's like, not even that. It's like your body, like your body is the commodity. So it's like showing the product sort of deal. It's like really weird.
Yeah.
By the way, where's Moss?
She's advertising. Oh,
but although I do have
yeah, she did. She took a walk.
I do have a
fuck.
Yeah.
I do have a question though in general when it comes to this idea of like Brittany Venti talking about premarital like no premarital sex. What about trying
sorry
it?
to hear about that for you.
Yeah.
Well, what about trying it before buying?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that it's correct to not have premarital sex at all.
No, I don't know
I think
about
that's
that.
I think that's completely retarded. It doesn't work at all.
What do you mean?
Well, dude, I had
when,
premarital sex.
When she says sex,
oh, so it's coke.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Coke.
When she
It's
says
not, no, because it's not coke because I don't
cope
because I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't have the general I never listened to that thing.
What if you end up finding out that this person is incapable of having sex in the proper manner?
Oh, come
There's
on.
some weird shit
It's
that's
not that. It's just dude, you gotta.
But then if you have tried it before you buy it, then it's like if that's a deal breaker.
But
on
if you're getting the milk for
someone,
free, why buy the cow?
Exactly. That's the whole logic of it.
Well, no, the idea is that you don't get milk for free forever. Like it's not a cow.
Yeah, dude, I'm not saying
no more milk.
No premarital sex. I'm not saying premarital sex means literally just go have sex with anyone you want. I'm saying if you guys aren't intimate sexually before you get married, you're gonna have a shit time. Trust me, because you don't want to be learning how you guys are into what you guys like. How
but people did
together.
That for thousands of years, literally.
Yeah, and look at the world, Gio. Look
at the world now that we. Have premarital sex.
But this is the point. Listen, as somebody who is not only married but also had premarital sex.
Listen, as a sex haver, I immediately discredit your opinion.
What I'm saying, what I'm saying is you. It's not that it's 100% necessary.
Lately?
It's not that it's 100% necessary. It's that it's
never.
It's that it's important.
Never, Charles.
Well, Gio, the world that came now came out of the world before. So I think that certain pressures that we're feeling right now, that let's say more traditional people are feeling right now, it may be because before certain things may have been suppressed.
Because
so
I stubbed my finger while listen, I'm hammering some nails. Because I stubbed my finger, I might as well just cave my fucking skull in now.
Gio, by the way, can you show me your pussies?
What?
Can you show me your pussies? Yes, the cats.
Oh,
yeah,
I'd have to go outside and get them. Because, like, my mom...
We gotta see them. Okay, we gotta see those cats.
My mother,
it must be arranged at some point.
Don't worry. Yeah. Well, when I bring them in my room, because, like, I have to be careful because my mom, she's, like, very... what's that word for, like, I guess animal phobic? Like, she gets very nervous. Like, she has a panic attack. So, like, for years, she tolerated my other cats. Because, you know, when I was a kid and I had problems at school, like, learning issues and shit. And so they're like, well, you know... so she tolerated it, but then like after a while she like it went progressively. Like first we could only have him downstairs in the basement here where my studio is. Ironic basement dweller. then we could only have them in the other side where my father's office is. So it's like she just progressively made demands.
Well,
and now
what
it's
what
like
is
they
she
have to be
what is she scared of?
outdoors.
What is she scared of regarding the cat
She just
specifically?
has like an irrational.
Yeah, it's irrational.
Like,
It's like-
yeah, she has like an irrational phobia.
I knew a lady that was afraid of birds, just generally.
Yeah, like
there's no
she.
real reason. She's just super afraid of birds.
You know what I used to be afraid of as a kid? I used to be afraid of the blowfish, the ones that were just sitting on people's walls. You know what I mean? Like those.
Oh, the spiky.
puffer
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
one of those. I had one of those.
Because it's like it's dead, so it's kind of haunted. You know?
Yeah, it's a
But
corpse.
like,
You literally just have a
Yeah.
corpse sitting there, and it's also a dangerous corpse because it can spike you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the combination of all these
Like-
horrible things.
I
The
also
way
had a
she
shark
describes
jaw.
it.
And that.
Well-
Oh yeah, I have stuffed
Yeah,
birds because my
shark-
old man
shark.
used to do a bit of taxidermy. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he was a big into tax. So I was dating somebody, and they said I needed a new hobby, that video games were taking up too much of my free time. And so I went and got books about taxidermy, and I started
There
acting
you
like I was
go.
going to get way into taxidermy and be a taxidermy guy. That might be one of the best gags I've ever done. Never heard them say shit about video games ever again.
Oh god.
Wow.
He
There-
did
there-
a bit of it back in the day when he was big into like hunting, but
Yeah.
he hasn't done
Hmm.
it recently.
There's
It
this-
takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I got a
to
friend. He got the
taxidermy.
raccoon who has, he's got a little Hawaiian shirt on and a beer can and
Oh.
Oh my
sunglasses.
god.
Wow.
That's
That is the
terrible.
worst.
Yeah.
That
That's
shit.
terrible.
That shit makes me fucking so sad.
Yeah,
I like that
Southern
website.
to the
I like that website, the badtaxidermy.com. You know
Oh,
the
that's
one?
good
oh
shit, yeah,
god,
good shit.
that's oh
Yes.
man.
Al-
But
Although
no,
one,
what's this about defending like premarital sex here, Lev?
Yeah.
wait,
I'm
wait,
going-
hold on,
talking
hold on.
about-
I
Before
will
we get,
do it.
hold on, before we get back to that, I just want to say quickly,
Lev,
there's this
listen, if
girl.
you keep testing cars, eventually
this
you're
girl-
never gonna.
There's this girl I know. There's this girl I know who was a childhood friend of James Rolfe, aka the angry video game nerd. This has
No
nothing to do
fucking
with,
way, really?
This has nothing. Yeah, but that's nothing to do with what I'm gonna say. And she's also apparently her ancestor is Vlad the Impaler. Like she has. But anyway,
Nice.
she had a former boyfriend of hers. His mom used to like live probably around Virginia. I don't know, like up in the hills.
Uh-oh.
And she used to love these contests that, you know how they have these contests for, you know, like the beauty queens, but not for people, but for like fake horses, like horse dolls.
Okay. Yeah.
So she brought in an entry for the annual horse doll competition, and she made pelts out of the squirrels, out of the hide of the
Yeah.
squirrels,
Yeah, people
that
do
she
that.
would shoot like with the BB gun.
That's
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
they'll
people
use,
have made
like a
dolls
pellet
out of
gun.
real.
Yeah, that shit's
Yeah.
weird. It's a little weird to me. What are you doing? Why are you
Doing
doing
something
that?
I think,
that
like-
people have done for thousands, if not
In the South,
all
yeah.
of reality. Like
No,
and
but
just
not
the
for
South,
horse
like
dolls.
worldwide,
They
all around.
no, but they'd use it for
Yeah, they used to
particular.
make dolls out of animal skin. Yeah.
But yeah, you
Why
use
not?
what you have. You use what you have.
use every piece of the buffalo.
Sure, I don't know, but just with the squirrels, just seems kind of weird to me. I don't know with the fake doll horses. You know, out of all the hobbies, that's gonna be the one you choose. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what's your hobby? Oh, I kill squirrels and skin them so that I can put them on models that I make of horses for a beauty contest. It's like, what? What do you mean? Why?
By the
No,
way,
I will defend the premarital sex though. I will do that
But why though?
because I've
Why
done
do you
it.
want to encourage it?
Because I've
yeah,
done
I
it.
know it's cope.
Because
it's
no.
cope-conceived.
Because I've done
It's
it and it
cope-conceived.
didn't make me retarded. You understand? Like
No,
nothing
but
happened.
but Remus, you're not everybody. That's the point. Like that's
what I'm
why
what
we
I'm
have to have a moral
so that's
standard.
why I'm saying here. I'm not saying yo go have sex with everyone. What I'm saying is premarital sex is fine if you are with a person who you're actually in a like dude, the person that I
So
had
you're
premarital
saying,
sex with,
I think
I
I
was
understand
with
what
for
Remus
2
is
years.
trying to say. Remus
Yeah.
is trying to say that you know, the hookup culture, the going out and getting some ass,
exactly.
that's no good.
Yeah.
So if you're dating somebody, you probably want to bang them.
Yeah, you
As
guys
St.
should
Paul
probably
said, "He who layeth with the harlot, she becomes you, and you become her."
Right.
Yeah, but a
Nothing wrong
harlot
with
is
wrote a song
specifically
about that.
somebody
You
who's
become
like
a liar.
I do
like a
be
prostitute.
I do
Turn
be
you into
coming
me.
on her.
Yeah. No,
No,
but to
but
be
the
fair,
point-
what is a harlot
Oh,
in this
never
case?
mind.
What? No, Gio. What would be the definition, the
No.
biblical definition of a
No,
harlot?
I understand
what is a
exactly what
harlot?
Gio is saying.
Is that like a whore?
I understand his reasoning. I understand why he's saying what he's saying, and he's right. The difference
But-
is that
but-
no, the difference is that yes, if you are in what is already a loving relationship with a person, there is literally nothing wrong with the two of you having sex, especially if the two of you are serious about it. Listen, one of the great things about being in a relationship, and something
don't know,
for some reason
guess,
people forget
guess.
this, is that you can just talk to each other, right? You can
But
just
what
have a
happens
conversation.
if it's someone you
Talk
love?
to somebody. Who wants to talk in America? Come on, it's 2021.
You can just talk to them and just be like, "Hey, man, this
Try to
is
get
my
canceled?
intention.
But what
This is what I
happens
want."
if like you really love a person,
Uh-huh.
but they're not that great in bed, whatever
Uh-oh.
that means?
Listen, Gio, that matters.
She just lays there.
That matters.
Wait, isn't that why the
So
French
that means
invented
you're going
a...
to deny yourself a lifetime of happiness. because
no, but
she's not
that's
a great lay.
no, but isn't
Let
that
me
why
tell
the
you
French?
something. Let me
Isn't
tell
that why
you
the
something.
French invented lovers?
You are not.
I think like the whole thing about this person's a good lay. I think that's just bullshit. In my
No,
opinion.
but it's
I
not.
don't know.
But it's not. If you suck at sex, you suck at sex, and trust me. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you a story, and it's gonna get a little bit not graphic, but I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so that girl, right? My first girlfriend, when we were, the girl I lost my virginity to, we were really in love. Okay, we really, really, really loved each other. And
Yeah, all teenagers are.
Yeah.
not
By the way,
at all.
That's
Not
such
at
a
all.
strange phrase, by the way, for men, because it's like you don't have a hymen, you're not losing shit. But anyway.
Yeah, no, it's just
He has
it's just
a behindman.
it's literally just like a rite of passage. That's it.
Gio, do
Yeah.
you still have your
So-
behind intact?
Well, by the
So-
way, when
Oh, God.
you rupture your behymen, you actually do end up losing your shit. But anyway.
The anal
So-
cherry.
So what happened was
Popping that pussy.
What
she
pussy?
she didn't want to because she wanted to wait until we got married. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, that's cool.
Turned her into a harlot.
Right? That's cool. That makes sense, right? But as the time goes on, the two of you get less and less concerned with that. You know what I mean? It's more like, oh shit, like I really just want to do this. Now I'm gonna tell this story, and I'm gonna be honest about it, okay, entirely. So what happened is we're teenagers, we're very horny, and one day we're at my house, and we're on my bed, we're making out, and
That just happened, right?
no, it didn't just happen. I asked her. Okay, what happened was we started getting hot and heavy, and I was like, hey, do you want to do this? And she looks at me in my eyes and goes, and I could tell she was a little bit apprehensive, but she goes, okay. And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yes. And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yes, because I am not in the business of trying to do non-consensual sexual acts just as a person, never mind in any other way, right? So she's like fully down, okay? We start, and she immediately started crying. Okay, I stop, and I'm like, oh my God, right? I literally have never felt like more of a piece of shit. I'm serious, okay? I was so distraught. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know what to do. She calls her mom. She ends up leaving my house. I think I just literally raped my girlfriend, and like, yeah, like
Holy crap!
I was really, really
Remus,
not.
what did you do?
I was really
this
not
is a
okay
live
with this.
stream. What are you admitting to?
She calls me. About an hour later after she got home, and she was like, hey, I talked to my mom, everything's okay. I was just really upset. This mattered to me a lot, but I talked to my mom, and my mom was like, are you guys in love or not? Like, you love him? And she's like, yes. And he's like, then why is this wrong? Like, what's wrong? What's happening?
That's fucking
right?
weird that she just talked to your mom about it like that.
No, because
I don't know.
she had that kind of relationship with her mother, right?
Oh, that's kind of sus in my.
No, they were just they talked. They were honest.
Yeah.
They were honest.
Yeah, what's the alternative? Not talking to your parents,
Dude,
just
yeah,
keeping
but you're not
everything
gonna
a
talk
secret?
to your parents about your sex life.
No,
That's
for sure.
kinda-
No, but this is the point.
I
You
don't
should.
know.
You should. You should.
Oh,
And if your parents
I
are
don't know about
normal,
that. That
if your
seems
parents,
like some liberal parenting bullshit. to
bro,
my
what I'm
opinion.
telling you that this shit is the truth, whether you believe it or not. You should do these things because if you don't, your kid ends up not knowing what the fuck is going on. Trust me.
That sounds
Trust
like a lot
me.
of that fucking Jon Stewart, like oh, the religious conservatives type
Okay,
of
but
shit.
I'm
back in
telling
the
you
day.
that I'm telling you that I lived this, so I don't care what it sounds like. I know what it actually
I don't know,
literally
Reed.
is.
Yeah,
You're
it
losing me
sounds
here.
you
You're
lived it
losing
in
me here.
Minecraft. Like this didn't actually happen. You know, you never had that experience. This was in
So-
Minecraft.
No, but it
So-
just sounds like religious right fucking talking points. they
No,
used to
religious
have.
right can do whatever the fuck they want. I don't care. I don't care.
No,
can
but
have
you know
your
what I mean. Like
children-
it sounds
you
like
can have your
you
children
know.
be stunted if you desire, but that is the case that they are going to be stunted
Well,
if you don't
one
at
man
least
stunted is another man's
if you don't
moral,
at least have a conversation with them about it. They should know what the fuck is going on at least.
Yeah, but
what,
like going into specific detail, like, oh yeah, my boyfriend was railing me, and then like,
no one said
you
this.
know what I mean?
No
Like,
one said this, and that's
that's
not what she
kinda-
was
I don't
talking
know,
about either.
man.
Okay, so you're doing what's happening is that a lot of inference is being done about the very minor things that I'm saying. No one had this conversation. She didn't go to her mom and say, "So my boyfriend was raw dogging me." Dude, her mom knew me. I had been.
Oh,
We were
Yeah,
very
I,
close for a long time.
chat,
I
press,
don't know. I
press
feel like I
one
got to disavow.
if
Like,
I'm right. Press
I'm ready to
two if
bounce.
Remus-
Like this is what are you even do? What are we doing here, Remus? Like,
What are we doing here, Remus?
You want- you want-
so
so-
no,
so-
but you're
going
not
with this?
addressing
No,
my
so
point,
do me a
though. You're not
favor. Do
addressing
me a
my
favor.
point.
Do me a favor. Shut the fuck up and listen, and you'll understand. Okay. So
Oh,
the
fuck.
point is when you actually have a conversation with somebody and when you actually talk to each other, you actually care about each other. It's very easy to deal with these kinds of things. It's not hard to have these kinds of conversations if you actually care about one another. This doesn't mean, hey, be endlessly permissive. This doesn't mean be endlessly promiscuous. What it means is don't walk into marriage a complete and utter novice in every capacity that a relationship requires. Marriage is much more than having sex, obviously, right? But sex is an important component of your marriage. It makes your children. If you're not attracted to your wife and you don't want to have sex with her, you're gonna have a really bad marriage.
But
You're
you
gonna
didn't
have a
answer my
really-
question though.
Which is the point? What was the question?
Like say if you love someone and you're compatible in every other way, culturally, religiously, whatever. But like the fact that like I don't know, you don't like a certain aspect of like they don't do it for me in the bedroom, then is like what are you gonna do? Like are you gonna just like squat like
No,
I
think that's up to the people, right? But I don't think that that's enough of a reason to get divorced or like have your relationship destroyed. You should be able to talk about this. If you're in a relationship where the person isn't satisfying you sexually, right? Or there's something wrong with that.
Well, it depends.
You should be able to approach. And if you're in a relationship where you can't approach about that, then I don't think you're in a very good relationship. Man. Like it doesn't seem
like it depends. Like if they're into weird shit or not, then that's different. Like
yeah,
if
but
you're not comfortable.
everyone should have boundaries.
Who can only
Everyone should have
canvas suit,
boundaries.
That's the only way
Everyone
she
should
can
have
get off.
boundaries. If that's the case, then you should know that before getting married. Do you understand? That's my point. You shouldn't be like you get married. It's the first night, and she's like, "Listen, I can't get off unless you take shit on my face." It's like, what? Like,
oh, fuck.
You know, how would you ever? You can't. There's no congruency there. You need to know these things right? You need to know before you take that commitment. But the point that I'm making about the premarital sex is that is one way. And again, I'm not saying be endlessly promiscuous. I'm saying if you weren't in a committed relationship already, like, what are you doing? Like, you should know these things. You should probably live with each other first because you want to know if the person that you live with.
No, that actually doesn't. Statistically, that's actually a terrible idea to live with someone first. Like
I think statistics can. I think it's more likely that a couple is going to break up if they live with each other first. Statistically, that makes sense because they're going to learn if they enjoy or don't enjoy living around each other.
And you've saved yourself child support and all these things that would have eventually happened.
That's my point. My point here is not that these things are innocuous and that they're completely harmless and that you should just do them. What I'm saying is that they aren't.
I don't know, Remus.
They're not things that destroy a life or relationship and are inherently wrong. That's just not true at all. Like
I
at
don't
all.
know. Well, the Bible says otherwise. So, chat, press 1 if premarital sex is a sin. Press 2 if being an unrepentant coomer is all right. I gave you a good option.
Yeah,
I don't know. I set a poll up about bears versus lions. I don't know who. I don't know who on the Twitter page is. Yeah, press 1 if that's the movie you want to see. So I put lion versus bear. 546 votes. Bears got 74.2%. So
I think because the lion is faster, maybe.
What's the
yeah,
difference?
well, if it's just one lion, then the bear wins.
What's
I
the-
think a bear could
what's-
probably win.
What's the question? Would a bear beat a lion?
Would a bear fight a lion? Who's
A
gonna
bear,
win a
a
fight?
bear
Fight a
would,
lion or
a
beat a
bear
lion?
Probably
would,
win.
a bear would absolutely tear a lion's shit up.
I mean, you know,
It wouldn't
lions
even be
pretty
close.
Big. Lions
Yeah.
pretty big.
But bears
Do you
are
think
heavier
bears
and
fight the
stronger.
equivalent in North America of mountain cats?
Wait,
or no?
Gio,
No,
which
the
was
mountain cats don't fuck with bears because they know not to.
Wait, Gio, which was
I
number 1
guarantee-
and which one was number 2?
guarantee
Number
Mountain
1.
lions have fought bears.
Number
Wait,
1 is premarital sex is sin. Number 2 is premarital sex all right.
All right, we got number 2 from Ramus Draven. This is the only
Any
one we
number
have so
threes?
far.
All you people are coomers. You are not as morally worthy as I am.
Okay.
Gio,
I'm not-
I just imagine... No, Gio, here's the thing. I generally believe, could be wrong about this, but I generally believe that today, at least in Western societies, despite all the problems that we have, the value of human life has increased. Am I wrong about this? Like, we...
What do you mean?
I'll explain. And yes, I know abortion, all that, but what I'm saying is, when it comes to just in general, the way that, let's say, a lot of people used to die, and that was more commonplace for people, where today, a death seems to be, for most people, something like, oh my god, they died.
That's the equally bad attitude because...
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the value of human life going up. I'd say that's
just like, they value bare
disconnection
life
from
above.
death. Yeah, disconnection from death rather
they
than
value bare life. It's death now. They value bare life over all else, and that's like the metric of it.
like, man, I saw a
People don't-
video. I saw a video the other day, bro, and it was like this baby, with like clear birth defects. Like, he only had one working eyeball. His head was huge. His mouth was like a cleft lip. He was all fucked up, right? And this kid's like, he's conscious. Yeah, he's alive. And I imagine that he has the capacity to understand things. But, like, why are you doing this? Like, it's like if you found a bird who had its wings torn off and were like, I'm going to nurse this bird back to health and it's going to be fine and it's going to love its life. Like, is it? Is the bird going to love the inability to fly? Is the bird
But it's
not?
still alive.
Yeah, but I don't know, Remus. That goes down some very dangerous territory.
Yeah,
to,
once
like,
you
have
get
that
into
kind
the
of
range
logic,
of
you
like
know?
it is, because I feel like if I'm all gnarled up in a wheelchair, like I know some fellas who are very good fellas who are gnarled up that can barely move their hands, but they're sharp. They can talk.
Oh no, yeah, I
They
know.
enjoy stuff. Like they can
What's his
still do
face?
stuff.
That dude's
Ricky
hilarious.
Berwick?
Yeah, no, not Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky
Ricky's-
Berwick, Donovan.
Donovan's
Triple
fucking
Jesus.
hilarious.
There's a lot of guys who are, disabled. I don't know what words.
Oh,
you
bro, I'm
wanna
not
use
saying
for it.
kill them. What I'm saying is, it just seems like I imagine if you took Don and was like, yo, would you prefer if you could not be disabled or die, and that was the coin flip? Would you take the coin flip? I'm pretty sure he would take the fucking coin flip.
I don't know if he take.
Well,
that
I don't-
conflict.
I don't-
That's a
I don't
guy
mean-
who enjoys being alive, who enjoys making people laugh, who
Yeah.
feels like there's a value in that. Like him being gnarled up in a wheelchair, like that. Like that's everybody gets dealt a hand of cards in life.
Yeah, he's not gonna not take it. He's alive. He has the capacity to do things. Right?
No, but just to be clear, I don't even mean the value of life when it comes to these kind of birth defects.
We're
I
talking
mean more.
about premarital
I mean
sex
more.
before
Hold on,
Yeah,
no,
we're
no,
having
no,
the
no, no, no,
premarital
no.
sex.
It all
You're just a
fits
coomer who
in.
wants to talk
It all
about
fits.
premarital sex.
Gio, it all fits
Yeah,
in.
talk
It
about
all
that.
fits in.
Titties or
I'll tell
something?
you how it fits
What
in.
if- what?
So if we take a look at France, like even
I'm not gonna lie. I think
pre-revolutionary
Brittany
France.
would pretty demand.
All right, put
Hold on,
ones in the
hold
chat
on.
for
For sure.
I'm making a point.
Twos in the chats for Abby Shapiro.
Well,
Let's
Lev will
see,
find
who's got
out.
the
I mean,
better
Lev's
pair?
going out with Brittany. And
Jesus
maybe he'll
Christ,
find out.
Gio! Shut up! What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Okay, hold on,
Now
hold
you're
on.
doxing
Here's the
them,
point.
what's
Here,
going
no,
on.
no, no, no.
I'm
Okay,
kidding.
look.
I'm kidding.
Okay,
That's
here's
not
the point.
actually true.
Here's the point. Okay, here's the point that I'm getting
Not?
to.
I thought
Okay,
it was.
when we have I was
know those
talking about
photos are
pre-revolutionary France. Jesus fucking. Okay, okay, pre-revolutionary
Lev,
France.
are you going out with Brittany Venti?
No, pre-revolutionary France. People used to, at least from the descriptions that I
What if we
that I
kissed
listened
on Break
to,
the Rules?
you will never let me finish my goddamn point. Pre-revolutionary France. Here we go. Pre-revolutionary France. And by the way, we have a 2 from Lord Akubasi. Okay, pre-revolutionary France. People used to, if I understand it correctly, like the French, they used to gather in these parlors and like drink tea or whatever and eat what, you know, frogs. Yeah, well, but what they did was that they were watching executions. They were watching people getting ripped to fucking shreds
Hell yeah, dude.
on
They
the
would-
wheel.
They would fuck while they watched that shit. They would do all kinds of stuff. The hotels and stuff ringing the area where the execution would happen would all be sold out for months. It was a big thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, a big thing.
Now, wait. Now, that's part I wasn't quite aware of. So, we're, just to keep in mind, we're talking about pre-revolutionary France with the wigs,
Yeah,
with
that's what
the
I'm talking about.
columns.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have those fucking people, and like, okay, what class were they? Like, were they nobility?
They were
they?
they were
They're all
aristocrats.
They were
sorts.
known as
Yeah.
wiggers.
Well, it depends. Everybody showed up, but the aristocrats would be the ones doing all that debaucherous shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were the ones with the money to do it.
Gotcha. Okay, so they were then taking. See, my only problem there is like the women. They had all this tight clothing. They had all these rituals to put the clothing on. I'd imagine it would just take several minutes, if not more, to take all that stuff off.
No, because they're all wearing
So-
skirts. You understand? It's not
Yeah.
relevant. You don't need to get naked. You just can fuck.
Ah, I
That
see.
was-
Okay.
The type of clothing they wore, it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was usually for special occasions and parties.
Yeah, it would depend, but
Yeah.
they did have a lot of accoutrement when it came to
Yeah,
dressing.
they
It's
did,
not
they
easy
did,
to get
Yes.
undressed, but that's also why it was simple to, like think about it this way, right? If you have to get fancy dressed, but you still have to take a piss, like you're gonna make clothing that's gonna make it easy to take a piss. So that's the way. It's this also applies. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the people in the past were not sexual. They were gonna think about this as well. Like, oh, this is gonna make it easier.
You were gonna
And-
make the like the Tim and Eric poop tube.
Yeah,
Have you
they
seen
would do
that
that.
thing?
They would do that. You know, so that's the way France, especially pre-revolutionary France, right? Like, remember, what's his face? Louis getting his teeth pulled, so
Yeah.
people just started getting their teeth pulled because it was cool. And it's the thing. That's the thing you do.
Amazing. Okay, so when I take a look at that, I take a look at like these people were fucking savages, and I say that both in the Joe Rogan good way and in the bad way. You know what I mean? Like how they went about life is very different from the way that we go about life. So we can at least agree on that part of it, right?
Yes, the value
So-
of life in that capacity is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm mentioning this too is that I would imagine that similar situation for something like the Bible and sexuality, where I'd imagine that even before the debaucherous pre-revolutionary France, any other society, it wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah. I'd imagine like every other society, there would have been a hell of a lot of this kind of shit going down on a regular basis. So the least people would have hoped for, I'm guessing, is that with something like Leviticus, all these passages in the Bible, it would sort of like subdue a certain amount of people so it wouldn't be as bad. So at least this is what I'm imagining is the case. I really don't imagine that there were these chaste people in the, whatchamacallit, in the Byzantine Empire, you know, all wearing white and praying on a daily basis. I don't know. I just...
No, I
human
think
nature...
it was probably easier to cheat back then.
Why they didn't have Facebook?
Well, no, like if you lived in a cosmopolitan area, it would be probably easier to cheat. It wouldn't be. I imagine it would not be easier or
Yeah,
harder to
that's-
cheat in
No,
a
but
in a
even-
small community because everybody knows each other. But
But
even
even in
then,
the
people
small-
still did it.
Yeah, even in the small community, I wonder
Yeah,
how
cheating
many...
is always gonna be a thing. That's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that's why these rules exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've always been there. Yes, and again, I am making this clear. I am not saying that what this means is go be a whore. What I'm saying is that you I don't think that it is inherently wrong to have sex within a loving relationship, even if you are not married per se. What that does mean, however, is you can't have a loving relationship with 5 girls in fucking 3 weeks. It doesn't work that way.
Well, according to Ayala, you can.
Yeah, well, she's wrong. I'd say she's wrong. Right?
By the way, she's got a. Ayala still hasn't gotten back to me about the thing with Brittany Venti. That kind of makes me disappointed. So
I think the delicious tacos versus Brittany Venti would probably be funnier.
And I think that should happen. By the way, check this out. This is the poop tube. No sound once again.
Right, what happens if Brittany Venti goes up against a lion and a bear?
Wait, hold on. Before that thought, take. Are you watching the video?
They leave out of pure irritation.
All right. Do you guys?
What is poop tube?
All right, check this out. So
is this kind of some kind of porn site you're on, Lev?
Yeah.
All right, so this is Poop Tube. It was invented by Bradley Michael Farts, and what it does is that it liquefies your poop so that you can poop standing up like a man.
Is this a Tim and Eric sketch?
Yes.
Oh my god.
And now Poop Tube is for kids too.
Oh my god.
The smell's improved. It doesn't smell great, but it smells better than it used to. That's what the guy is saying.
Oh my god.
Look at
I
those.
knew it was some fucking Tim and Eric.
Yeah,
look at those frothiness of it all.
Frothiness.
Yes.
Oh.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
That's terrible.
By the way, I think that's the actor from Pee-wee's Playhouse, the movie. The guy who played the neighbor. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't think I've watched Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I don't think I have.
No, it wasn't Pee-wee's Playhouse. It was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And by the way, we have a comment from Lord Akabusi who says, "Why does Geo sound different?"
What do you mean different?
Your mic sounds a little weird.
Yeah, because I'm on my phone and I'm closer. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, and by the way, Geo. Speaking of artwork, how's your artwork?
Olivia said yesterday your favorite person would be Tracy. Whoa! No, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm just.
I don't know what's going on. Listen, guys, I've been standing up for this entire time, as always, on the standing desk. But I think it's about time.
Yeah, I gotta go eat.
That I call it quits today.
Much.
I've been drawing these 3 fishmen over here. This is the last thing that I added. So let me see what I can call it. Left cards 2021.
Speaking of, you guys are mentioning Louis Theroux.
Yes.
I wonder when that certain Louis Theroux documentary is going to come out about everyone's favorite leader of the white race.
Well, according to
little Nicholas Fuentes.
Well, according to James MK Ultra Money Healy, Beardson had him over, and he kicked Louis Theroux out.
Did that Lex
Beardson
Luger
did.
documentary come out? I want to know about Lex Luger.
Oh, that did come out on A&E, I think so.
Yeah, was it A&E? I thought it was the Peacock.
I can't believe they call it Peacock
that'd
today.
be more interesting if it was A&E.
Actually,
like an independent thing away from WWE.
Yeah.
Wait.
I'm sure WWE's involved in it.
Wait, Louis Theroux is making a fucking Fuentes documentary?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my god. Can we stop? Can it stop? Jesus.
Can you imagine
Christ.
5-foot Beardson just no, never mind.
So
never mind.
Kicking him out of the house. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, what I really want is a video of Louis Theroux and Beardson throwing down like Ethan Ralph and that other fat guy at the door.
PvP? Yeah.
That is my
like
favorite
Ethan
video.
Ralph. Oh, like when Ethan Ralph went
to
the
whoever's
only
house.
good thing. Okay, the only moral thing that Ethan Ralph has done in his terrible existence is go after the Transton family. That was pretty hilarious. Where he's at the door, and he's fighting. Yeah, he's all drunk on Maker's Mark, and he's like, ugh.
Oh my god, it was so bad.
It lasted 2 seconds before he left because they called the cops.
Well,
and apparently he's dating the one girl. I don't know, alleged girl. From apparently what's her name, Pantsu or whatever.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know if she's a MTF, but apparently Ethan Ralph took her away from the Transton family.
Wow.
And yeah.
What a guy. What a hero.
What a dude. What a mensch.
Yeah, what
What
a
a
hero,
man.
right? What a hero.
What a hero.
He did it.
Yeah, I mean, releasing.
Yeah, I gotta
underage
tune in. I
revenge
gotta
porn
tune in
and,
for. Didn't he have Sticks on debating somebody?
Yeah, that was
Sticks
Anomaly.
debated.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
tune in for that one. I gotta make time for that. I want to listen to that for sure.
The best was the one Andy Worski show he does with that guy that looks like he has AIDS. What's his name? Kyler. He like Ethan Ralph like popped in for 2 seconds because PPP was on. He was absolutely destroying Randbot. And then he pops in for 2 seconds and threatens to like come up to Canada and stab PPP dead with a knife in his throat. It was hilarious. And then he just like pops off. And then like the next day he like devotes a kill stream or whatever to just like how PPP is like, oh, it's hilarious. Like I follow all this stuff like PPP and Surfer. Like I just find it fascinating how they like just absolutely destroy. Like so, like I deeply like I mean I don't like. PPP, he like really hates the Catholic Church because he's one of these like Bible thumpers. But like, I really just appreciate how a fellow like fat Canadian could just like destroy all of these e-grifters. It's hilarious.
Then there's so many. There are so
Yeah.
many. It's
Like,
gotten,
he did this
it's gotten
10-hour
a little bit better in my opinion. It seems like there's less grifters, and the grifters that are smaller.
They're getting
and
destroyed.
More, and they're more like, bro, I don't care about about the fucking self-help book guys as much. You know what I mean?
Oh, like Soul Bra.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna throw names out.
Throw shade on him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw shade because do your thing, but at the same time, like
I feel like I'm ready to throw some shade, boys. I gotta bounce. We've been playing for almost 4 hours.
Oh man,
I'm gonna call it a live stream.
Thank you so much for coming in, as always.
Always
and
fun, boys.
Don't forget to follow Mask Bastard on Twitter.
And the podcast, Real Weird Sickos. I'm supposed to plug that everywhere.
Hell yeah.
Real Weird Sickos. That's the podcast. It's a comedy podcast. We talk about weird stuff. All right, everybody, be cool.
Take care.
Yeah.
And we are gonna go as well. But I just want to tell you, there was a song that I want to play right after we go, because obviously we play no music here for you know why. But it's a song called "Darling PPP." Since you mentioned PPP, that's the first thing that I thought of. So I'm curious what you guys think. But we're pretty much done. Thank you very much for watching this. As always, follow Remus on Twitter. Hold on, let me put up your Twitter account here. Calf lives.
Calf lives. It will never die.
It will never die. And of course, Giovanni Penichetti. And hold on one second. Let me load up your thing. See, this is what happens when I'm staring too deeply onto these things. I start slurring my speech and not knowing what I'm doing. Here we go. By the way, have you noticed that there's a person named Nuggy Scott who keeps replying to every post I make with like Love is cute. Like,
wow.
On Twitter?
On Twitter, yeah.
That's a dedicated troll right there.
It's quite an interesting thing to see.
Maybe he actually does think you're cute. Maybe
he does.
Even worse. Oh.
Who knows? Okay, so over here, follow Gio on Twitter, and of course, any new videos for us to watch out for, Gio.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna release the Revelation reading, book 1 to 4.
Ooh.
Then like I'm gonna so.
Wait, so are you reading? You're reading from it and like analysis, or are you just
reading and like some analysis?
Okay, cool.
Like off the cuff type of stuff.
Yeah, I got you.
Excellent. All right, guys, this is it. I am going to close this puppy right now. And again, everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the LEVSTREAM. We're going to have a BTR episode Tuesday coming up. That one's going to be very fun. Anyway, I am closing the stream right...
Don't forget to break the rules.
We never say that. That's the first time.
Don't forget to break... That should be...
That's why I said it with that voice.
That sounds so cringe.
Yeah.
All right.